Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. And next thing on the item is the approval of the minutes. Did you guys all get a chance to look at it?
I read motion to approve.
Jim Vanderhorst makes a motion to approve, a second by Mr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the agenda.
I had a call this morning from Mr. Terry Holzer. He's on here for C2. He said he will not be in today, so take him off the list.
Take them off?
Yes.
Okay. Any other additions or changes? Any other additions or changes? If not, is there a motion to accept the approval of the agenda?
I make a motion to approve it.
Mr. Miller makes a motion, there's a second to the motion.
Second.
And Mr. Gardner, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the old and unfinished business. Item 1 is CUP and building permit for exterior temporary office Conex trailer. There must be an email from Clint Sherb, which I read earlier.
Clint had emailed me on Friday asking if they need a building permit for temporary office. I didn't think he did, but I wanted you guys to make that decision.
I think so.
Is it on the same parcel, Clint?
Yeah,
It'll be on the same parcel, so I think it's.
yeah, it wasn't a building permit, it was a, the certificate of occupation. That was, but it is gonna be on the same parcel.
What are your feelings, guys?
Well, it's, you're not staying overnight and sleeping, and then I don't think you need a certificate of occupation to work in a Conex. I mean, it's gonna be a Conex office, right?
Correct.
It's temporary. I mean, the city of Lincoln, we don't ever make anybody get
Permit?
not for temporary stuff, you know, the Catholic Church has them right now for, and probably more, so I can't see a reason to make them get a permit or any type of, I don't think anybody else has ever done it.
Any other discussion?
Did you do it for the DAPL? They have hundreds of
Yeah,
offices.
well, I guess, I mean, like I said, the question mark would be, is it inside of like the acreage that's already part of the conditional use permit?
Yes, sir.
So that's part of the daily operations of it, that is gonna be coming and going
Correct.
depending on
It's
the need.
construction trailer.
I mean, if it was across the road and there was gonna be additional traffic issues or something, I think you could argue you might need something else, but if it's kind of germane to the project and the same footprint,
That's your only office?
Yes, sir.
And that'll, okay. Okay, how big of a structure is it?
Get a trailer.
It's just a regular Conex box?
Yeah, like a FEMA trailer, Conex box type.
yeah, like just a portable, like the makeshift mobile
Yeah,
home
yeah, you
offices
see
and
them
that.
all over.
I'd be surprised.
What, did you wanna surprise us with a permit fee and pay to us, or?
Just wanna double check.
I don't, I've never,
I'd
Yeah,
say it wouldn't be any different than having a piece of equipment there as part of the operation.
I would say my assumption is that would have been a part of the project. And
I would say.
Yeah, unless you were occupying it overnight, sleeping in it, then a guy maybe would need to look into something more, but I can't see a reason to. I appreciate you actually bringing it to our attention, and I do too.
I feel the same way with Jim, you said, I appreciate you coming to us and asking us out of respect.
Right.
If there's any other discussion on it? Do we have to just give you a green light that it's approved? I think it's approved. It just,
I think it's fair enough to assume it's a part of their conditional use
Yeah,
permit. I
yeah.
don't think there's any additional.
okay, thanks, Glenn, appreciate it. Any other discussion on that? We'll move on to the next item on new business. Brad Huber, you can do your VA quarterly report.
You should have a copy of your packet. Brad?
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Ben, it's all yours.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, first quarter of 2026, the numbers, if you've got any questions, training as always completed. I didn't put this on the report, but next week, is my biannual training, which is in Fargo, so I will be out of the office next week.
Is that a 2-day deal or all week?
That's like 2.5,
Okay.
3. It's like an evening, 2 days, and then a half day.
Is there usually a good turnout on it?
Yes, it's pretty much about, I'd say 95% of the counties
Oh,
attend this. I think one of the benefits of when they do the one is you get a lot more speakers from the VA show up, so it's a lot of information in 2.5 days, probably more than a person can be subjected to, but it's pretty good training. Another related, I guess the Veterans Memorial for the courthouse is going forward. We've purchased all the little memorial things. It's just a matter of getting it installed in the, I guess, basement.
okay.
But everything is on shooting, hopefully by Memorial Day.
Okay.
Not gonna hold myself to it, but
Okay.
That'd be good.
we're gonna try.
Okay.
Good.
We've got the, if you guys don't remember, we're gonna put them in like those kind of booklet wall setup like the Lytton School has up here with the pictures. With a little, with a little write-up for the veterans, and we got, MIA POW table that's gonna be set up there. And, some veteran plaques and eventually a flag that's gonna get donated. That'll be folded in a case. So that's the plan. Well, the only thing that won't be there is the flag because we have a date in mind where we were gonna get it flown and then folded, put in a case, is the plan.
Okay.
Sounds good, Brad. Anything you
Sounds
need from
good,
us?
Brad.
I'm good.
Good deal.
Good. Keep it up.
Yep.
Any other questions, guys, of anything?
No news is good news for me.
All good.
Yeah.
Looks good,
As
Brad.
always.
All good, Brad. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Have a good time in Fargo. Next item is B, consideration of fire emergency burn restrictions. And this was being brought to our attention because of the dryness, I'm sure, correct?
Yeah. this is- That was sent to you guys.
Yep, I read it.
Yeah.
Now, due to 12 to 22 inches, 18 inches of snow, do we still wanna put that in place? Yep. Huh?
Snow's gonna be
Yeah.
gone soon.
It's supposed to blow 35 miles an hour for the next 3 days. That's gonna dry that out like. Speaking of a burn ban, Joe, whatever happened with our whole fire up at Glencoe? That ever get resolved?
Yeah, he basically just making payments to get it all back, so.
Alright.
But, yeah, there's a lot of vegetation out there and the wind blows, so.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to adopt the fire emergency and burn ban restrictions
Okay,
tied to the daily fire danger ratings.
there's a motion by Jim Gardner to accept it. Is there any more discussion on it?
Yeah, it seems kind of futile right now, but that'll change.
It'll change quick.
It's feast or famine in this state, it'll be.
When the wind blows, it
Yeah.
either blows really hard.
Go ahead, Craig.
Jim, last year on that Glencoe deal, when they shot that tannerite, they said that didn't apply to the burn ban. Do you remember that?
Well, it's got recreational explosives in here now, so I would think that would, probably tie tannerite into it, cause that is very much a recreational explosive.
Okay, just so that's in there.
Yeah, I don't think that was in there before, and or just explosive materials.
I think the problem is that they get referred to the state's, website to find out when the ban is in place, and that has a list of things that are restricted, and that list is different than what we have.
Okay.
So that's, I think that's where the confusion was.
Still prioritizes ours though, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotta pass what we gotta pass, and then we just have to find a way to make sure that, you know, when our.
But I'm just saying, if somebody in Emmons County does something and starts a big fire, and they said, well, I went and looked at the state website and it said this, they're still responsible to look at ours and follow ours, correct? I mean, they're still liable because they didn't,
That would be, yeah, that's what our argument would be for sure.
I mean, I can't go to Canada and drive on the wrong side of the road and have a head-on collision and say, well, that's not how we drive in North Dakota. Okay, I'm just curious.
Okay. Any more? Miller, anything?
I'll second James.
You made a motion to accept it. Is there a second to the motion? Miller seconds the motion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried.
Gary Holm is here for this.
Is he on the agenda?
Well, I took you off, I didn't know you were coming, I'm sorry,
Oh, miscellaneous.
but you could probably take care of it.
I didn't know I was gonna be here either.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess we could put him in for the public comment opportunity here.
It's on the agenda, the plat is on the agenda under miscellaneous. It's, either 11 or 12.
So maybe we just put him on the list of 16, put him at 17.
Yeah, you can. Well, it's on there already, the plat is on there already.
Yeah, let's just do it real quick, so.
You want me to do it
Number
quick?
12.
Yeah, we're way ahead of schedule.
Go ahead, Gary, you wanna? Let's see.
I got this self-explanatory, there's just, there's two families that, would own that land around the well place down here.
Okay.
And that whole thing, the two families own, it was Larry Schwab and then, Jimmy Schwab. Well, 3 out of the 4 have passed away and they just, passed that land over to the kids. So then you basically got 12 kids involved in this land, so now what they did is split it up. Larry's side owns one side and Jimmy's side owns the other side, and that's all they're doing. Just splitting the land up between the two families.
Yeah, I think we did a big pass on this.
Yeah, did you do a pass on?
Yeah,
Okay.
Josh said it was good to go, so.
The zoning and planning committee decided to give it a green light and go with it.
Yeah,
So is there any more discussion with the board?
No, we don't have.
I always thought that that land was owned by the state when they took it over as a historical place.
well, there's a
There's a portion.
There is some,
That is.
yeah, that part down there,
That's all their outline.
yeah, that's the only place that's owned by the
Okay.
state. The rest of it was owned by Jimmy and,
Right,
Larry.
yeah,
seeing no issues, I will make a motion to approve.
there's a motion by Jim Gardner to approve the plat. Is there a second to it? Any more discussion?
second it, Dan.
Second by Jim Vanderwerst. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Anything else, Gary?
No, do I take the sheet right away or do
He'll sign it and I'll take it to the recorder's office.
and then when do I get that?
As soon as they get it recorded.
Okay,
You want me to call you or something?
oh, they'll just call me?
Okay,
Yeah, just have them call me.
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Gary.
Is that number 11 or 12 on
That
there?
was 12 of their
Number 12?
plats A and B,
Okay.
okay?
I was just gonna ask the same thing. Which one should we?
I didn't know either which one I crossed off.
You wanna read?
Thank you, Mel. Huh?
You wanna
I
read?
better read it so there's clarity on it. Item 12 that we just discussed and approved was item 12 plat of lots A and B, north half of the southwest quarter and the south half of the northwest quarter of section 21 Township 131, range 76. Okay?
Yep.
We will move on to the next item on our agenda on new business is, let's see, Russ Lawler, the road superintendent. If you wanna step up, it's all yours. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Russ.
Morning. We got a few items here this morning. One thing, the crack sealing is complete, that's all taken care of for the year. The boat docks are in at Langler's and at Beaver Bay on the east side, we got that taken care of. The next item I'd like to discuss is that bridge up there by, west of Hazelton there.
Yeah.
We did some, calls and stuff like that, we are able to take it out and remove it, and we can put a culvert back in. So John Martin has did some hydraulics and stuff on it, and, basically what he came up with is we can actually replace it with a 10-foot by 50-foot, 10-foot diameter by 50-foot long culvert, and then put flared ends on it.
And flared ends.
The flared ends would be installed on it, and then, rip wrap it and fabric it, of course. We did get some prices and stuff like that. We're looking for the culvert alone delivered to the site. We're looking at $13,524 just for the culvert. We did not get a price on the ends yet, but they're not gonna be cheap. They're gonna be,
Better spending.
yeah. So you're probably gonna be closer to, you're gonna be right around that 20,000, I would say, total just culvert. And then we have to go in and do the work yet. Just asking if you'd like to proceed with that, or where we wanna stay with that.
Is that,
If
is
50
that a
foot
round culvert or is that
That's a round culvert.
It's a round one, yeah, it's gonna be a 10-foot round.
Yeah, so
corrugated.
if it was wider on the bottom than the top.
No, this is just a 10-foot round culvert, so.
corrugated steel then, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a double wall?
Yes, I believe it is. It's the one with the, yeah, whatever they have written down here, that's the culvert that we'd be putting in there. It's the right one for the job, so.
Did you hear this, Schmidt's? This is what we're addressing right now, that bridge. Okay.
Are we gonna, with a 50-foot culvert, are we gonna have a road width that's equal or greater than what we have?
According to John, yes, that's what he recommended to put in there. And then the ends, of course, are gonna give you another about 4 or 5 feet added on to what we already have. So it should actually be a little bit wider, hopefully. And I can double check that before we order the culvert, that we're gonna be wide enough on that side of it. And that's gonna give us approximately 1.5 to 2 foot of cover on top of the culvert as well, so. Unless anybody sees anything or wants anything different, or,
What do we, on the south side from me, when I was up there, and I'm not that familiar, but I did look at it, and you guys can correct me on it. Isn't on the south side kind of a lower elevation, that if that can't handle the water, instead of going across the top and raising havoc with that road, it'll run around the south side and get out? You correct?
It goes over the road farther down south, yeah.
And farther south, right? So would we have to build up that area also to the south to accommodate that width of that culvert? As you get across that culvert or that bridge, so to say?
I do not know that, I guess. Is it like right next to the culvert, or is it for, like, what are you talking, a half a
Well,
mile
it's, how
down?
much farther is it from that culvert?
Couple hundred feet.
About 120?
Yeah, it'll wash out the fences on both sides and goes over the road there.
Cause that's kind of the last place that water really has to cross before it gets to the river, correct?
Grants has got a crossing in there too.
There's a same culvert about a mile down, according to John. There's another culvert, and is that correct, about a mile downstream?
Yeah.
To what? To the east of 83?
To this
I mean,
one here.
1804?
To this one right here,
East,
West.
west,
going
okay.
towards the river,
Okay.
yes. So, and that was John's thing. He said the only other thing, if there is a lot of, I don't know, does the water run over there quite a bit? No?
Just the spring usually, whatever, if you get a lot of snow or something, or
Okay.
a real big rain.
Can you help me on this here? The lay of the land, the water from up there by Lawrence Engelman, when they had that 10-inch rain in Hazelton. That water comes through this creek, does it not?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
a lot of that water should start to go north
that
towards
goes-
like Long Lake and all
Yeah,
that
it goes
through
Does
the.
it, it goes that way,
Yeah.
okay.
Cause you're gonna get almost all that water from like the Braddock Dam, it all starts, that's a part of like the Long Lake watershed, so all those tributaries and everything, it actually goes more
Goes north,
northwest, yeah.
okay. I didn't know if that water.
Most of that water coming through there into that like Badger Creek area watershed that they call it, that's mostly coming off the hills.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
almost
okay.
all just kind of that whole, there's basically a valley once you get to about Schmidtke's, and that's
Yeah.
the beginning
Oh,
of like a
what's that?
big valley and everything from that way, pretty much.
Goes this way,
Mhm.
okay.
And by going with the one culvert, that would get us off the inspection list as well, so we don't have to have it inspected every 2 years like we do now. So it would actually be one less thing we have to do, but he said if we are fighting water that comes over there, you know, multiple times a year, he said then his other recommendation would be put 2 culverts back in there. But he said if the bridge seems to be handling it for the most part, he said this one culvert should be sufficient.
There was talk from somebody, and I don't recollect from who, but if that water pushes back, does that affect the Schirmeister to the east?
It floods his pasture behind the house, it never makes it up into his yard.
Into the yard?
But that whole flat will turn into a lake down there.
Yeah, okay, alright.
I would say out of 365 days out of the year, about 363 of them, there's no issue with water back there. And then the 2 days you have it, it's kind of a lot like Schwabi's deal we just fixed out there.
Yeah,
It runs hard for maybe a week on the worst of years, and the rest of the time, you can walk across the channel most of the time. It's really it's a runoff culvert. I mean, it's just drainage, it's not really like it's not something that, you know, you can fish out of or do a bunch of kayaking on. It's, you're gonna be very disappointed most days out there. I mean,
carrying it.
right, yeah. Water probably stinks more than it flows most of the time, but yeah, you get a big rain, a big snow runoff, then then there's a lot of water comes through there, so it's.
Is it gonna affect, are we gonna be able to do this or get to it if we do it this spring before these guys are gonna use that for spring seeding? Or do you have another way to get in from the west coming in? Somebody said you can come in off 1804 and come in, but it's like a 4 or 5 mile out of the way deal.
Yeah, and then there's another soft spot in there, and we talked to some different landowners, I don't think that's really an option, to bring like a semi or something through that way,
Not a good,
all the way over land.
okay,
It's one of those unique properties where most of the time you have these issues, you have a secondary way in, it might be farther to get there, but you can get there. This one is just, it's a one-way deal,
okay.
unfortunately.
I mean, the other special part about this one versus your typical section line is that bridge we're talking about taking out was a part of our inspection list. It's not just a culvert on a section line, that's the county's responsibility because of that bridge, so. You know, that's where like the obligation of like, well, why don't you fix other bridges on other they're not a part of the inspection list, we're obligated to do something with it, and that's where, with this situation, I think putting a culvert in, it's been a thorn in the county's side for 25 years. I was actually digging through some filing cabinets at the office, and Dad had a county file in there, and pictures of that thing were I laughed actually from, I think, 2010. It's been a problem, it's been doctored a few times. I think we just put a culvert in it, get it over with, and it's off the inspection list, and it's gonna be probably good for many years and just.
Cause I think old Leo and Grant, didn't they put the rods and plates in and try to pull that together?
Yeah, I think a few county guys were, I think probably Nick and a few guys were, it was kind of a collaboration to keep it going, and then, but I think after a while, you can only tension an old bridge so much before it, it's at the end.
We got another one out west.
Well, but this one was a part of the inspection list, probably from its proximity to 1804, it's hard to hide, you're gonna, and it's a liability for us to have anything out there like that anymore. I think it's just time to get it over with. It's kinda like the Schwab deal, just comes a time where you just can't avoid it anymore, so.
Wasn't there a fire out there a couple of years ago?
I was told about that, and then they didn't wanna cross the bridge, cause it was.
So that needs,
I'm
time to
just-
fight the fire if you can't get there.
That's
Yeah.
old, when was that built? Do you have any idea?
Oh.
Do you have? I mean, it's old.
Before me, I can tell
Before me.
you that. It's old, yeah, it's old. Like I said, when it comes to that inspection list in the DOT, there's a lot more liability than just your average section line, even if like century code, you wanna start saying that we don't have to, but being a part of that inspection thing puts a liability on us heavier than an average road, so I just think we should get it
Makes
fixed.
sense.
With the engineering firm, Russ, that you're working with Lowell, is everything pretty much completed in place to move forward with it now?
Yes,
And we can get a culvert.
we'd have to order the culvert, I don't know the time frame of getting the culvert, but I could place that, if you give me the go-ahead, I'll place it today. It shouldn't take, I'd say within a week, we should be able to have the culvert, give or
They'll
take,
deliver it right on site.
right? And then we can just make it, we just have to go get it done, that's what we have to do, so.
Is there any more discussion, Jim?
Sounds good to me, that makes sense.
What's the lifespan on one of those, 50 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long
it should,
time.
Well, I'm 40, so as long as it's at least 40 or 50
Yeah.
years, I guess.
I ain't gonna worry about it.
No, I'm not.
We kept longevity, but not that.
Yeah, it's like- I would make the motion to proceed with that project and replace that old wooden bridge with a culvert.
There's a motion by Mr. Magrum to replace that culvert up on the air description discussed. Is there a second by Miller? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. There will be a culvert placed, guys.
Well, I mean, the main reason to get the engineering firm involved more than anything was just the hydraulic study and the size of the, like, I don't think there's really like a design, it's more so just, are we gonna put the right size culvert in and make sure that, you know, we had something other than just a guess, so.
Can I ask you guys, being you're here, do you have access to any rock, if we need them, on that east side to rip wrap that culvert along them flares?
Well, that's way big, they're talking close.
It's not anything close, like,
Closest would be culvert to like,
On Culver's land, there's somewhere on that Apple corner, isn't it, that Jenny Mott's land? That big rock pile?
Yeah, those-
I've seen some east and on the north side, but I don't know whose land it is. You're gonna need rock, won't you?
you're gonna want rock that's more like basketball size.
Yep, yep.
You don't want the boulders.
You don't want the
Yeah.
boulders, cause it'll wash beside it.
Right. I would say the closest is down near like Connie Culver's.
On that land of
Lot
our county?
rock right there. You know, everybody else, we've been burying and then we gave it to like Duran's project that time. I think they came and took a bunch of ours too. And so, yeah, they just keep working closer to town.
Yeah.
All the close stuff is gone.
Yeah, if you think of anything, let Russ know, okay?
There's not a lot of rock in that country back there either. That's the thing.
Hey, Russ,
Find one that's either
could you
a
use
huge boulder.
4-foot concrete pillars or something on that? Like for riprap or something like laying in there?
we could, I suppose.
Concrete.
Only reason I'm saying it is because I did a little foundation work, cause I'm repairing some foundation in my shop. I'm gonna have about 15 of these like 1 foot square by about 3 foot tall concrete pillars that I'm taking out. That I have no idea what I'm gonna do with. It'll probably be pretty sweet riprap. I would sure love it if someone just made them disappear.
I don't see why we couldn't.
There's no rebar or nothing, it's clean concrete. I mean, for riprap, I don't know, we should check it out sometime, because I probably got 15 of them.
Okay,
And they're about, like I said, they're about 3-4 foot tall, and they're about square, you know, if you could like lay them in there and just fill them with small rock or something, so.
yeah, with no
Something to
rebar,
consider.
we should be able to use them. I think you can use anything as long as it doesn't have materials like.
Right,
rebar
like this
and
is
stuff.
clean concrete, cause one of them did break when we like moved it, and it broke, I mean, for riprap, it'd be fine probably, but
Okay,
something to consider, cause that's right in Hazelton, so.
But what about crushed, like blacktop, will that work for riprap or not really?
I don't think it's heavy enough if water hits it and
Water's-
move it, you know, if you want something that can kinda combat the water, so I would say not without being an expert on it, but.
Anything else, go ahead then.
the next item, or the last item I would have then, I guess, is, we talked about the Mack trucks that we have. They're coming off warranty here in June. And we have two options. One is we can buy an extended warranty. And for a 2-year, 250,000 mile warranty, we're looking at $11,445 per truck. So you're looking at, 23 to 24 grand, somewhere in that area. And we did price out some new ones if we wanted to stay, under warranty with the whole 9 yards. If we went to new trucks and traded these two back in, our payment would increase $1,047 a year. Right now, we're making a payment, we actually are gonna make our last payment this month on them other ones of $33,895. And it would increase, I believe, it's gonna increase to $34,940, so it's, like I said, it's $1,000 a year. We can trade to new trucks and have trucks under warranty, or we can go with the extended warranty side of it again. And like I said, if we could take a chance, I guess, but at the same time, we've had a lot of trouble with just emission stuff on these trucks, you know.
Are they gonna pull the emissions on government trucks and equipment like they're gonna try to do on farm ag?
I don't know what's, you know, whatever happens down the road, I guess I can't control that, but we have to deal with it now, so.
That makes big sense to me, to go new, you know.
Would it be with Mack trucks again or
It
not?
would be Mack again. We priced out Kenworth, Peterbilt, and we're talking, I think the closest competitor was 64,000 difference per truck.
Per truck?
Per truck, so there's a big difference in manufacturers. And these would come spec'd out, wet kit, fenders, everything that we have on these right now, so it'd be just give them and take these is how we would do that, you know?
Yeah.
But like I said, there is a couple options with extended warranty, but I mean, to me, for $1,000 a year, and it doesn't really affect the budget, it would, you know, $1,000, but you would just factor that back in like we've been doing, and it seems to be working.
Is the availability there for trucks?
They're like 3 months out, so we would have them, if we would place them soon, they got about a 3 month period here to get them here.
How many miles do we have on these trucks?
They're just both right at 100,000. One's like at 105 or something like that, and the one's at 98 or something. So it's a tough. They're far from wore out. You know what I mean? That's the thing. They're good trucks, but and I think if we were able to get rid of the emission side of it, I think we could have a good truck. But we're kind of stuck with the rules.
Yeah.
Well, they're important to keep going, you know, so.
I mean, I guess my thing though is it's $1,000 a year more on a payment, but we're gonna be done with the payment stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, you're,
On these old trucks?
well, I mean, semis of 100,000 miles, calling them old is a weird paradigm, but yeah. I'm just saying, like, when you're shaping, okay, it's $1,000 more, so you're gonna go to 34,000, cause you're saying 30,000, 33,000 a year. is payment?
33 to 34.
Right, so you're going from 34,000 a year to zero now, and so that's where, I mean, if the emissions are the problem, the new trucks are gonna have the emissions too, though, so you're still gonna have some downtime.
Yeah,
I mean, when you start weighing it, I mean, other than the cost of the repairs, but if the cost of the repairs are gonna be less than the cost of the 34,000, then I mean, that's where I'm saying, it'd be different if these trucks had 500,000 miles, or you're talking about it, that's where I mean, I'd like to think 100,000 is probably the break-in period for a semi, so theoretically, you're hopefully working the kinks out to where you're gonna get more dependability, I would sure hope. Especially if we're going to the same brand, so you're gonna have the same brand, most likely the same issues, a continued payment. That's
For how many more years then would we continue the payments? If we buy new?
Well, we'd have to start over on.
All over
four or
It'd be a
five.
5-year plan again, yes.
well, they're about paid for.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, you're talking about over the next 5 years, spending roughly $160,000. The likelihood of spending that on repairs seems slim. That's where I would just weigh that, I mean, we pretty much have brand new trucks now,
They're automatics, right?
Yeah.
Well, with the extended warranty, we'd be saving there, I mean, what'd you say, 11 grand for?
11 grand.
For how many years? And then 250,000 miles?
You'd have a 2-year warranty if you went, well, you can go with a 90-day, a 12-month, a 24, or a 36. you can actually jump up to a 36-month warranty for 16,445 per truck.
Per truck, so
So it'd be
32 grand.
basically 1 year's payment, you could get another 3 years warranty out of it.
And that'll cover the issues that we've been having with these trucks?
The emissions and stuff be a part of that too then?
Or is it a different warranty?
Well, yes and no. For one thing, on extended warranty, you have a $350 deductible per visit. So every time we run up, it's automatically $350. They say that they cover most of it, but we all know how that all works. I mean, sometimes it's 75-25, sometimes it's 100%. I mean, there's really no guarantee that it's always.
I just replaced the radiator on a new pickup. Isn't covered with the drivetrain.
Well, I mean, the only other consideration is it seems like the trend is more towards eliminating emissions rather than increasing them. So there's also a likelihood, maybe even the next year or two, you do get the okay to delete a truck like that. And then if you have that opportunity, you know, I mean, I would say deleting a truck, even no matter what it's gonna cost, it's probably gonna be significantly less than any payment plan or warranty. And if you get rid of the emissions, like Russ said, if you're having 10 calls on these trucks, 9 of them are probably gonna get solved with a delete, which is entirely possible. I mean, down the road, it seems like the trend is we're getting away from it more than it getting worse, so.
I have a question. How long would you keep the truck? You know, because if you, so yeah, you're picking up 34,000 payments. It's easy to spend 10-15,000 on emissions. And, you know, if you chose to go without the warranty, it's easy enough to spend that. I mean, now they want $1,000 to hook the computer up now. But they, if you're gonna replace them a couple of years, you know, you've depreciated them that much farther down the road, it's harder to replace them, so it's gonna cost you more upfront. You know, you aren't gonna get a trade for 4,000, so, yeah, I guess, something to consider.
Yeah, right, either you trade them now or you run them to $1 million, so.
And then you have nothing left
Yeah,
to trade,
yeah.
just a shell.
Yeah, there's a lot of options and a lot of decisions, I guess, but.
It doesn't take too much to have a $20,000 bill on a truck.
No, and most of the bills that we've been getting, I mean, are anywhere from $3,500 to $7,500, it's all covered. But it doesn't take much to ring up a $5,000 bill neither, you know? You can have those it doesn't have to be a decision today. But it gives you all the numbers and stuff there if you guys wanna look through it and.
Well, I mean, the only reason, I mean, again, it's always easier to budget payments than repairs on our side, I don't disagree with that, you know, I mean, the other thing that we've been trending towards is kind of hiring out some of this gravel hauling, it seems to be getting more efficient, just like for the work you're getting done, for the money you're paying. And so that's where, I mean, if you consider just even over 10 years spending approximately $300,000, $350,000 on payments for trucks, you know, even if you spend half of that on repairs, which would be a fair amount of repairs in 10 years, you still give yourself another $150,000 that you could be using for extra gravel. I'm just trying to be the advocate of like, I don't think it's the end of the world if we update these trucks, and it's not gonna be a huge budget breaker, but the other considerations are, do you wanna have brand new trucks while also trying to hire out gravel hauling, or do you wanna be, cause there's some counties, I don't even think they hardly have trucks. They have like one to haul stuff around, they hire out all their gravel hauling. I don't know if that's the best thing too, cause there's times when we need to do our own work on our own timeline, so I don't disagree with that, but there's just a fine balance between like having a brand new truck that's maybe not even totally getting ultra utilized, when you could be utilizing that money. Instead of that one truck only getting X amount of loads, you could be paying for 3 trucks in a smaller window to get that many or more loads of gravel out, which that's kind of the overall goal, right? Is there's like, it's not just about having efficient trucks that'll always start when you need them, but being able to have the money to do all the other things you're trying to accomplish with that truck too, so.
You need 2 trucks in the county, don't you?
Yes,
Well,
yeah,
like
we
this
just go
project now,
every
just
day,
calls
yes.
them, right?
Yes.
You need 2 trucks to haul material.
Right.
yeah.
Or you get it all.
And these trucks are far from wore out, they're good trucks, I mean, I'm just weighing out the options here.
No, and I don't think the option he presented is a bad option, I just, in my opinion, it just feels like that's something that we've probably upgraded already, that's like a secondary piece of equipment, like, I know the trucks are important, but our focus is usually on things like the blades, right? And then the other stuff is, you just upgrade to the best you can with the budget, and I feel like the trucks are something we could get 10 years out of them, you know, I mean, or theoretically, I mean, cause we're averaging 20,000 miles a year at this pace, kind of.
At best.
You probably got new rubber on these trucks too.
They're not, yeah, they're well taken care of trucks.
It'd be different if we were putting 100,000 miles a year and you're like, man, in 5 years, we're gonna have wore out truck. I feel like this is something we could probably stretch to just make room somewhere else. That's my stance on it. It's not anti-upgrading trucks, cause I also agree, like this warranty stuff and these things, they can kill you on a budget, but at some point, you're gonna have to take a risk at some of these pieces of equipment actually doing what they're supposed to, which is hopefully run longer than their predecessors, so I feel like this is one that's probably worth the risk to stretch out to upgrade maybe a different piece of equipment or utilize for other services.
I think we can look at it and weigh it out,
Russ,
Gotta come back to the next
to
meeting.
buy the warrant?
right?
Like I said, you know, it's a gamble. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is. If you do buy the warranty, how long are you gonna buy it, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways, and just like Aaron said, I mean, you can look at it from 5 angles and all of them make sense. It really does, you know, so.
Right.
You didn't need a decision today, you said, right?
No,
That's what I
it's,
mean.
it's June. I just wanted to give you guys
Just
a
give
heads
us
up and
for
let
the
you
feed
talk about it a little bit.
Okay,
We can discuss it next month or something.
okay, second, good.
Selling these trucks outright, would you get more money than 772, or is that a good offer?
Probably not a whole lot. I could do some checking on that, but I mean, I think they're giving us a pretty fair value based on what I seen. I mean, to buy a used truck like that for a day cab for,
Day cabs are in demand.
you know,
I would think these things would be very good resale property to sell outright, these day cabs.
yeah, if that's the route we wanna go, I mean, or would wanna go, I mean, it's, yeah. They're, like I said, they're not anything that they're abused or wore out, it's nothing like that, it's just trying to stay ahead of the warranty, I guess, is where I'm coming from, you know? So,
And the average guy that would buy that truck would delete the death. Right, farm guy, they delete it.
Best thing you can do.
Guys can.
Yeah, I know these are disagreement of it.
Yeah, right.
so that's pretty much what I got for this thing, except for, I think Sid's on the list here for his, ditch clean out there.
County
You wanna
road,
step up and talk about it, sir?
county's road, my dirt,
Your dirt that's in the ditch?
yeah, so, you know, I never realized before, so it's, I gave Josh a picture of it, but,
Go ahead, sit down and discuss it.
you know, we've had so much moisture the last couple of years and the water's sitting in the ditch. And so I went to look and, you know, just why isn't this water draining anymore, but it's, I went and measured the dirt is washed in to the point it all drains to south, and I imagine this is from the days of tillage.
Where's this at, sir?
The substation,
Oh, the
going up
power
on
substation.
1804, the
On that
substation, then
20
go
miles
about
away?
three-quarter miles east,
Okay,
so
on
it's,
the north or south side, or the north side?
south side.
South side, okay.
So it all drains down to the south. But anyway, I ran level across it and it's 2 foot of fill in there. You know, so that's why, so, you know, you go back about it isn't a quarter mile to the west, but, you know, the water's pooling there, you know, it doesn't drain anymore, and that's what prompted me to check it, so.
You're talking along this, where you,
Um,
there's a water plant where you're talking down here.
no, go, no, yeah, okay, right there, right where your hand is now. Keep going, a little
That's
farther,
right.
now go a little farther east. Okay, right at the, it's right on the, east side of the approach.
Well, didn't you build an approach in there between you and Mark?
Farther to the west there.
Okay,
And that's also, the water's pooling there because I dug the approach and I put the culvert in at the same depth. No, that was farther west yet, right there. So I put that, you know, but that was just a slough. We had a heck of a time getting it in. And it pools to about 100 feet. I was gonna clean that out to 100 feet to the east. It still pools in there. It's just hard to get the,
well, these ditches all silted, from water moving, that grass acts like a filter. and it just holds that silt back.
It's all from, like I say, from the days of tillage,
Yeah.
it doesn't do much in that. So I was just gonna ask if I could, I didn't wanna go in there and pick it up and clean it out, but I was just gonna go in and clean it out, put it back up in the field, and slope it back to where it would drain.
I don't think you really need any approval from anybody else.
What you do if it's
Well,
gonna be
it's your
inside the county.
county
right away.
road.
Yep,
Oh, that's
you
right.
have to give them permission to work
That's a
inside. the
federal
right-
aid road, so it should be your property that I'm on, so. I just thought I better check.
That's a
versus
federal
road.
aid road?
That's a federal aid, right?
On 78?
Well, they have a 75-foot easement.
There's
Really?
75-foot easements in there, cause I farm that land.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's REA poles that are set back 75 feet.
I didn't know that was a part of the federal road system.
Yeah. That's good, you guys mow those ditches every year.
That
I like that.
doesn't seem. That's news to me.
That's federal aid, I'm damn sure. Or is it not? Why would it be built 75 feet?
Well, it doesn't, just because it was built 75 feet don't make it
No,
federal aid.
that was the farm to market road until they built the highway.
It was the federal aid, or the farm?
You're saying that was the old Highway 83 right away? Or part of
No,
that?
no,
No, no,
1804?
13, but that was the farm to market road until they built Highway 13.
Sure, but that's no longer a part of the federal aid system, I don't think.
It isn't, but you ended up,
Right, I mean, it got designed that way originally, but that's not a part, yeah, okay, I was gonna say, there's no way.
you guys are still out mowing it, let me put it that way, you're taking care of it.
Yellow.
We do still mow it every
Oh,
fall.
yeah.
Evidently. So it just never released a record as a federal aid road, or,
It's released a record, cause we haven't been doing most of the stuff that you,
I really wasn't aware of that either, you know, I bought the adjoining land on the other side of the road,
yeah.
and, you know, it shows off, you know, that, on the deed, it shows less than that for right away.
Well, I mean, even you know that with like the old 83 right away and all that stuff too. I mean, them right of ways never got surrendered just because they, you know, once they built the new highway 83, the old right of ways all still existed. You had to go in and request it. That's where we're.
well, no, they were surrendered to the county.
Right,
But the
exactly.
county never surrendered them back to the landowner.
Well, I think there was just kind of an understanding there. Like, I mean, yeah, everybody kept the right of way the same unless you requested it back. You know,
If
that
you
was basically
requested to
right.
convey it back.
So if the landowners wanted to request that, they would be able to probably get a release from the 75 down to
33,
33, I would say.
I would say.
If the county surrenders it back though, because depending on the road and how things are built and stuff, it's not always so, you know, I mean, there might be some really wide culverts, things like that, I mean, it's,
That's a good road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but anyway,
I've often wondered why that road was the way it was built. That's why that was the old farm to market.
Mhm.
Okay,
that makes sense then.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then did it ever come back to the existing Highway 13 where it is today as you go east? Or did it continue east?
Yeah, so it goes down, so I don't know if you know where Murray Lawler is.
Yeah.
Just keep scrolling east, Josh. A little bit right there. See that curve?
Yep,
Okay.
okay,
And now you're right out by, then you come out to 13, that's right by Sains.
yep,
Sains is just a little bit farther east.
okay. Huh, okay. Any more discussion? on this?
you see any issues?
I looked at it, and basically what he's asking to do is just bring it back to natural drainage is what he's trying to do there.
Makes
Do
sense.
you have to get the elevations, what they were at one time? Through
I
the
just,
city?
I just go off the bottom of the culvert.
Okay.
You know, it would have sloped,
Yeah,
they wouldn't have,
Place
they
the
wouldn't have done the
culvert.
culvert down, I just looked at it and said, okay, if you take it back down to where it drains through the
I mean,
culvert.
generally, that's why the reason why you have like your approach permit too, is that's basically a request to work inside of like the county right away, and then, I mean, like Russ is gonna go there and just make sure that it's not gouging into the road or something, basically, but that's, cause otherwise, if you'd work into the right of way without permission, then you're
yeah.
breaking the law and taking on liability and all that other stuff, so.
Can you drain by doing that pothole that's on that Miller land?
What's that?
Can you drain that pothole that's on that Miller land and over on your property by doing that?
I wish.
Oh, man, yeah,
It changes, you know, there's enough rise in there that you can't.
yeah.
You can drain, you know, as long as you don't alter the course.
Yeah.
You know, you can put the tile and stuff, but that would be altering the.
They say drain tile at midnight.
Right.
They say drain tile at midnight.
Right.
Anything else?
Well, do you need, do you need a motion for that?
I don't know if we do it,
Yeah.
do we should have a motion?
You're gonna
I'll
have to
make,
make a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to grant permission.
Jim Vanderbush makes a motion to grant permission to clean the silt out of the ditches on 2 locations,
Yeah, it's a little bit more, I mean, to me, that up by the culvert, I would just be finishing, I just couldn't get it done because it was too greasy, I couldn't get it done. Yeah, so, but,
Okay.
so, but I would finish that, cleaning that, and then I would go down, okay, cleaning it.
Any more discussion? If not, is there a second to the motion by Jim?
Now second.
Second by Miller?
So the motion is to grant Sid Lawler permission to do work in the right of way
County
of
right of way.
78th Street Southwest,
Yeah,
on the south
yeah.
side.
Yep.
Yeah.
On
I
Township
think
one.
you have to be specific, just to make sure that, you
Yeah.
know, you're just covering, you know.
You got, yeah.
I think
Okay, this would be, the Sid Lawler would have the permission to clean the ditch on section 6, township 132, range 78. There was a motion by Mr. Vanderborn to approve it.
that's
or
gonna be.
Motion for it?
Motion so.
Any more discussion, Aaron?
Well, I get, the reason why I say that is because section 6, township 132, range 78 is very vague.
I know. It's
I
big,
I would say you'd wanna isolate it to like,
site specific.
either between avenues or to a certain, like the south side of the road, because you're doing all the work in your land, right, Russ? Or Sid?
Yeah.
It's gonna be in your land, but in the right of way. That's why
Yeah,
just for the sake of everybody
Yeah,
and for, you know, make sure that it's narrowed down.
Be on the north side of.
On the
section
north side?
6.
Oh,
Well, it's
North
north
side of
side
that
of
section.
section 6,
Right.
south side of the road.
south side of 78th Street.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, you're gonna be doing,
What avenues would it be between?
1804 and Third.
There you go.
so it's the
Yeah.
entire north side of section 6?
on the north side of section 6
Correct,
and east of 1804.
correct.
And,
Now, so where he's got it outlined in blue there,
Yep,
that's mine, if you get it farther, that's George's to the west there, so.
So that'd be like,
So
the
right
nor-
where it's blue.
that'd be the northeast quarter of section 6?
Yeah, there are lots, but.
Right, yeah,
there's
I mean,
lots in it, cause that's it, yeah.
I just feel like you should be specific on something like that, since there is a liability issue. That's
yeah,
the only
Yeah.
reason, if you wanna put northeast quarter, or if you wanna put the lot number or something in it.
What was the lots up there, Sid, you know?
And
I don't know.
They're government laws, cause it's a
There's
credit.
government lots in that north side.
Yeah, it's like half a section actually.
You gain on that land because of those lots.
Oh, it's on a
Correct,
correction?
it's more than an acre.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
it's got these half
it's
sections.
100 acres,
Yeah.
102.
I feel like if you put the northeast quarter of section 6, that narrows it down enough, but just to be specific, cause
yeah. I'll add that, whatever.
if he doesn't own the entire north side of section 6, then he crosses a quarter line, then you have an issue where we gave him permission, where that wasn't his land, I just
Yeah.
straighten it out right now.
So permission to clean the ditch on the northeast quarter of section 6, township 132, range 78. And within the boundary of your property.
Well, I
Right,
think if you do that, cause he has the whole northeast quarter technically, or at least the boundary that you're working in, I think the northeast quarter covers that, so.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, I just,
Yeah. Are you okay with that motion, sir?
Yep.
Is there a second by Miller?
Yep.
Any more discussion, Gardner, anything? If all in favor,
Alright,
opposed, motion carried. Get it cleaned out, don't leave no ruts in the ditch. Don't leave no ruts in the ditch.
alright,
What was that?
you won't.
Are you gonna
I saw
receive?
somebody with a blade the other day leaving ruts in the ditch, I don't know.
Okay, thanks, sir.
gentlemen. Have a good day.
You too.
Anything else, Russ? Good.
That's all I got this month.
Hiring of equipment operator, did you do anything on that or no?
No, we did not yet.
I did some work on that, so I got, you got in your packet some information.
See ya.
There was a little bit of talk of some overtime, bumping everybody up to 50 hours a week. I got some numbers from John, what that would cost us. Page 2 is numbers to hire a full-time person. To depending on what step and grade, and then there's a little bit depending on if they were, previous PERS or not a PERS account holder. I wanted you to have all the information so you knew what the cost difference is gonna be. You know, the issue here was basically, we have a man down for who knows how long. Even if we go to 50-hour weeks, that doesn't put a seat in that maintainer, it doesn't put a guy in that maintainer. There's
No,
nobody
it
in that
doesn't.
seat. I mean, we can't take a guy out for 10 hours, put him in there, and then another guy out for 10 hours. I sat down with my wife too, the other thing that, is happening in Emmons County is we've got a young group of people moving out to the country, to the farm. Just around Linton, in the Linton School District, not Strasburg, not Hazelton, I'm sure there's more. We came up with in the past 5 years, over 75 kids riding the bus that were not out in the country 5 years ago. And that's just
75 kids.
that's just a rough, what we could come up with. That wasn't actually going to the school and adding how many people were actually on the bus route. This was just people that we were, and there's a couple that still live in town that are building out of town, but, I just want you to know how many more kids are out on the bus routes and give you a comparison, of what going April to October, 50-hour weeks overtime, which I don't think, probably I'm gonna say, I would think most of the guys don't wanna be on overtime all summer long, but maybe they do, and then the cost of just another employee.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.
So, that's where I'm at. I'm not saying I'm for or against hiring a guy, but we do have a guy that's out indefinitely right now on sick leave, so we have an issue. We have to figure out a solution.
I know the roads cannot take one blade set still all
Yeah.
summer.
And
That
I
could
did,
be an easy fix.
I did talk with Al last week, and, he had just gotten an appointment, or had an appointment the day before. He's looking at another 4 to 6 weeks, just to get rid of the walker and the cane.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be a step-by-step process, he said, from there, so he doesn't have an answer for us. But that puts us, almost to the middle of the summer already, without somebody covering that area, so.
I don't think it's gonna be easy comeback climbing up a blade.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion,
And I visited with Al too, a little bit after, probably a week or so after our last commissioners meeting, and he indicated to me, he has no idea.
He does.
He said, if I'm 100%, I maybe come back for 5 more years, I might only come back for 1, I might not be able to come back at all, he admits, he has no idea where he's at.
Yeah, that's understandable. He
Well-
doesn't know how it's gonna heal up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just wanted to bring to light the facts, of what the cost is. And I think another thing to consider is, overtime from April to October for our guys over their prime time of camping and enjoying the little bit of nice weather we get a year, probably is not gonna boost morale much. I mean, I think years ago when they were making $20 an hour, that was probably something they wanted was overtime. I think we've positioned our guys with decent pay where I don't think anybody really necessarily wants it. I'm sure there's guys that would do it for a while, but I don't think anybody wants to do it for 6 months. And like I said, I'm not advocating for or against hiring another person, I just want you to know the numbers.
Yeah,
Appreciate what you put together.
yeah.
Can overtime be voluntary, Russ, if they wanna go out on a Friday and run a blade?
And that's kind of what we did last year, and I think it seemed to work pretty well, and there is guys that take advantage of it. And they've been really good about when we have something important and stuff like that, it's been very easy to get volunteers to come in and help get the job done, so they've been excellent on that side of it, and yes, I still think the voluntary Friday is probably a good thing, especially some of these guys, there's some guys that take pretty good pride in their route, and they wanna take advantage of some moisture, stuff like that,
Yeah.
and they will come in on a Friday and try to get some of that stuff taken care of.
I give you guys credit. for what you guys did over this Easter
You
weekend.
bet.
Coming in on a holiday weekend and going out and opening roads for the general public.
Yep,
Thank
that was a big deal for us, and, that really saved the roads. That helped, big time.
I
Yeah,
got some compliments up in the north end of the county on a good job.
yeah.
I mean, we did get some damage, but they did a really good job, and I mean, you know, with a storm like that, some stuff is expected. But for the most part, from what I seen yesterday, I took a drive around and things came through fairly well, you know. I mean, like I said, we got some soft spots and stuff that we probably would have had anyway, so, I mean, it did turn out.
I talked to you yesterday about that spot just east of the Strasburg elevator, where there water that sheds goes out on that road and it's softened up and there's ruts this deep.
Yeah,
Have you been on it?
Yeah,
It's terrible. I mean,
went
it's
across it with my
that
pony
lake.
van.
Not easy, it's a mess. Not an easy fix, and I know you've driven it, but it's gonna be a tough one.
Mike actually cut a groove in there last fall, cause I don't know if they pump water out of their basement or
Out of
something.
the pit. Out of the
So,
pit.
and then that all just runs, and it seems to run right down the middle of the road, but we kinda talked about it and stuff. I think we're gonna go in there and possibly just raise that road, you know, maybe raise that a foot from where it ends on the pavement to that first curve. Bring that up so it kinda pushes that water off into the ditch a
There
little
should
bit.
almost be a ditch on that south side that water stays in that valley.
Right, and you know, that would help
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
Then it wouldn't run on the road.
It's on the
right,
road.
you know.
That road got raised in
Yeah,
2019.
yeah,
Did it?
I think
Yeah, it
got
was
raised. It was
underwater.
underwater,
yeah,
and then that got raised
a lot of roads.
2
around
feet,
it.
3 feet, I think.
Yeah,
No base to it anymore. So saturated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's that
Is
water-
there a sewer line, somebody said? In
Well,
the
there's the
center of that
city,
road or
the
no?
city sewer line runs there somewhere because that discharges to that gravity feeds to the discharge, which is right outside of Schwab's place,
Right,
and then
that
that
big-
shoots up to the new lagoon.
Yeah, okay.
So there is a city sewer main somewhere, and it's deep though, I mean,
Is it?
yeah, it's deep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad area. There's just no way for the water to get away there. It just,
No,
you know, it's one of them spots.
It used to be a football field.
Yeah, really?
Remember that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, it got pumped that same year that we raised the road too,
Yeah.
that was that year.
Is that when you pumped it? Okay. Where did you guys get fill from?
I don't remember where they got filled from,
Out by the old
cause Nick,
dump ground? I mean,
that was when
off the
Nick was the
Schwab's.
road superintendent when they built that.
Didn't they get that from Schwab, Gerard Schwab back there?
Could be, I mean, they got it
Probably
somewhere
to the
close,
east and south then.
yeah.
'Cause we
Didn't
built,
you have like a dugout or something of the old,
well, when
the old lagoon was there, right?
I built a dike there to stop the lagoon from coming, and
Mhm.
that's.
Into this lake.
I think they might have, maybe, I think they got it from Gerard, but I could be wrong on that.
They probably got it somewhere back there, it was close, I remember, but I think it was Nick and Gar, and maybe one other guy raised that up back in like 2019.
Any more discussion on anything, on roads or?
Russ, I got a call from Jerome and Rita Mossett this morning. They have some ideas where you could find some dirt to raise that road up with they've had underwater for 3 years, maybe 4 now.
Oh, that
It's
goes south.
been quite a while,
It's been a
yeah.
while, so if you stop in and visit with them,
Okay,
see what their ideas are,
okay.
that would be good. Try and get that worked in someday in your spare time.
The only, getting back to the salary thing though, like Marlis, is there, you know, because the one thing that's always been a difference is like paying salary, like the salaries and the benefits, they all come from like different budgets or like different funds. Cause I know like with overtime and stuff like that, that's always been a little more amendable, like if you bring on someone and have like a regular salary, is it really gonna be much different than,
We pay the salaries out of highway tax,
right,
and we're always short, because we don't get enough. So
right,
we just use the permit fund.
we transfer in from another fund. So it wouldn't be any different whether you were paying overtime or whether
Right.
you hired someone on an hourly, it's really no different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could shuffle the funds.
I usually transfer in from the permit fund into highway tax.
Okay.
Yeah, Marcy fudges the numbers and we get away with it. When we amend the budget at the beginning of every year. from the previous
Sounds so
year,
illegal, but
that was a-
transfer in.
was a-
Transfer,
That was
excuse
a,
me.
yeah,
budget
shuffle and fudge are
amendments.
probably not the proper terms, Mr.
Sounds
Chairman.
substantial.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
gentlemen,
well,
excuse me.
usually again, what happens is like Marla said, the highway tax hasn't kept up with wages for every county, not just us, we're not the only ones that are. So then generally, every county at some point has to amend their budget at the end of the year or the beginning for the auditors, so usually we pull in from either another part of a fund in the same budget, or you pull in from the permit fund or something too. So when we amend them budgets, there's always like 2-3 line items, usually that one is on there every year, so.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Well,
Miss-
I think shuffling
Miss
the
Usable.
numbers might be a.
Well, and like I said, I'm not pushing one way or the other, but I do think Russ probably has, probably an ulcer brewing from the fact of who's gonna be taking care of that road when they start this battery storage
That's a month away.
issue
Yes.
out there, and, I mean, one way or another, we have to find a butt to put in a seat, regardless of whether it's a temporary person or something like that, which is probably gonna be difficult, but overtime doesn't fill that blade, that's the only issue. And I think with the amount of young families moving out and kids and additional, bus routes, I think we're getting to the point where I think it's justifiable possibly, if it's affordable, to go the direction of another full-time employee.
So how many blades are we running now? We're running
8,
8,
we have 9, but we run 8
okay,
separate routes. Like this snow removal and stuff, we bring on that extra blade. Actually, this weekend, we had a blade and a payloader running to help out. And you can really notice the difference by adding that. You just take weight off these other guys and it seems to work pretty well, you know,
and
so.
even though Dave's the foreman, he's running a route yet, right?
No,
No,
he's not
so
on
Dave's not on a route anymore.
no, he's not
Okay.
on a full-time route, but he was out on the blade.
And you run a blade or a payload?
I was on the payloader, yeah.
Are there any applicants for this position, or hasn't it even been, yeah, it's posted, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is, yes, we have 5 applications, 5 new applications, and there's actually some guys that possibly would be interested from before, when we advertised before.
Okay.
So we have some guys that are qualified with experience and stuff to come on, you know. And we've had that discussion, me and Dave as well, if you're better off to bring on a guy that comes in with so many years of experience and is pretty well set in his ways, or do you start from scratch and try to make it all? That's a decision that we're still trying to come up with, you know, so.
I went to the Association of Counties meeting where there were a bunch of different counties that were represented there. And the feedback that I picked up was their experience has been, when you bring in an old guy like me that feels I know it all, which I do, it's tough to train them, you know? Versus if you got a young guy that's coming into an apprenticeship program, they said they're so much easier to work with. Because you're training them the way you want them trained.
The right way.
And I feel there's a lot of merit to that. Cause they said they've tried old guys coming in from construction jobs, whatever, you can't train them, you can't change them. Cause they feel that that's the only way, and it's not the only way. So yeah, there's a lot of things to weigh out of that, and yeah.
Yeah, there is, and like I said, we've been having talks about it and stuff like that, and there's a lot of good guys out there, and the guys that have applied all seem to be a pretty good fit, you know, so.
Are some of them, are some of them local? I think that helps a lot too, guys that are familiar with the county that grew up around
That's
here,
a
or,
plus.
well, yeah,
The
absolutely.
majority of them are within, the county, yes, yeah.
Okay,
One of them had, and he would just move here, you know, given the fact that the job. So, yeah, that is a good thing too, because it's one less thing you gotta worry about, you know.
So what are you looking at down the road, Russ, retires?
You know, just Al,
Oh, okay, otherwise,
as of now, but I don't, you know, some people will let you know. Some people just kind of
don't, yeah,
wait until it's 2 weeks out and then just,
then they
you know,
just
so.
leave, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But as of now, we just have the one on the list, and like James said, it could be tomorrow, it could be,
no, it won't be tomorrow.
it's hard to judge it, so it's kinda hard to. Yeah,
That's part of living.
Well, you think you can make it work in your budget?
I suppose we can, you know, like I indicated before, running the numbers kinda like I did with, you know, before I gave, or what James came up with, I'd like to actually see the numbers you have there to see how they compare once, but, I think there's a possibility we could make it work, you know, cut someplace a little bit here or there to make it all come together.
Second sheet has the stuff from Jody.
You're gonna find out with that, you're the lowest paid guy.
Yeah, don't look too hard on that.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know, maybe it isn't quite, so, it kinda looks that way.
Well, I think at those numbers, you'd be hard pressed to squeeze another full-time guy into your budget at $110,000. That's, you know, benefits.
And that's never really recognized a lot of times, these benefits.
Well, that's the thing,
Such a big
and that's why I went to Jody and asked for that specific.
Yeah,
There's a lot more than just the salary when it comes down to it, when you're given a healthcare plan and
benefits.
PERS. That, a lot of people forget what they're actually getting made,
Getting paid.
you know, what you're making pay-wise, till you start to look at what the benefits part, it's almost as much as your pay.
Yeah,
I discussed this with my accountant. I said, what do you do with your employees within? Do you furnish a full health plan? Absolutely not. I cannot control those costs. Salaries I can control, but the rate increases on this health insurance and all, you can't control it. So they don't even offer it.
Well, I think we're lucky with PERS,
We're very lucky.
PERS puts some limits on there, the increases can only be so much, I believe, right? Per year, I mean, I think they're capped at a per year increase,
No.
they're not?
No.
The biggest difference with PERS is that you have people competitively bidding on it.
mm,
There's usually two, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield and Sanford, so.
Right.
You do, I mean, you know, you can't be absolutely reckless with your increases, otherwise they'll look elsewhere, so.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, benefits are tough because other people do offer those benefits, so if you don't keep up with it, then there's elsewhere to look too, so it's a retention thing too, so.
But it's a
Yeah.
big plus.
Oh, absolutely, the city is a 75-25, and I can guarantee you when you're not getting paid $50 an hour, you know, when you're taking a chunk of your paycheck every month to pay for insurance, it hurts. Absolutely, it's a huge benefit.
so that brings up another question. One of the applicants, his wife already has insurance, so he would not be participating in the county insurance. And he was wondering, but we don't have no incentive or anything like that if you don't use the insurance or don't take the insurance, right? It's just our numbers are our numbers and that's the way it is. Okay,
either you
And
pay,
he doesn't, you don't get it paid, do you, if you don't take it? Okay, I didn't know.
Either you take it or you
Yeah, that's
don't.
what he's asking, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You wouldn't have anybody interested in working like 6 months or something for the summer?
We do have a guy, yes, that is actually had inquired about a part-time deal. We do. He's not a blade operator. He's a truck driver. But that still helps out too, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're looking at different options. Like I said, I don't have the exact answer right now at this moment, but
Anything else, guys?
Just the Hall Road agreement
Hall Road,
deal,
yeah.
right?
Oh, right.
You have anything else? We'll go to the Hall Road agreement?
no, that's, and I should have signed off on that. I
He
signed.
signed off on that already, but you guys gotta approve it too.
Okay, okay. So that's taking care of the Hall Road agreement deal with energy. With the Emmons Logan Energy Storage LLC, that's taken care of, correct?
Well, you guys usually approve it too, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Did you guys all get a chance to look at it and read it over?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
There's one thing I'm gonna bring up before we go in, while we're into this. But is there merit and truth to the Seaview Farm deal? That they're bringing in like 16 or 1,700 loads of material? that I wasn't aware of. Were you guys aware of another planning and zoning?
Yeah, and thanks for
From
bringing that
Napoleon,
up.
correct?
Yes, Chuck Feddick is gonna be hauling in, they're gonna be bringing in like 1,600 and some odd loads across that road to build up that site out there. And it was actually supposed to take place here in April, now they pushed it back to May. But I did reach out to Chuck personally, he said, yes, that is true, it will be happening. And it's just something else that we should probably try to get ready for, because that's, 3,300 loads back and forth again on that same road again.
That's a lot.
Did they pay their conditional use permit fee?
And
I just had to bring this up because somebody brought it up to me on the street and I said, I know nothing about this.
Yeah, they haven't paid they're over their 30 days from approval, and they should have paid 75% of the conditional use.
Seaview is delinquent on that permit.
Well, Cavendish, yeah. So that brings up another.
That's another problem.
so I did reach out to, actually a guy reached out to me, he stopped at the shop here a while back, his name is Tom Mertz. He's down by Aberdeen, South Dakota, he works for, Louisa Construction, I believe is the name, but they do this stabilization stuff as well. And I took them out to that road and showed them 3.5 miles there and stuff and what we were looking at doing and stuff. So we had a place come down out of Bismarck and do some core samples on the road. We're waiting for the results to come back, and then he will give us an estimate. But his preliminary estimate actually showed to be fairly reasonable for doing what they were gonna do, and they would put a 6-inch stabilization in it. And then we would come back and gravel over the top of it again, and, that hopefully would be a good fix for that road to get us, so we don't have to go through this same scenario like Cattail Bay. And we would have to replace that culvert in there, of course,
Like we talked about.
before they would do it, and then they would come in and take care of that, so. I don't have any numbers at this point, but hopefully by next week or next month, I can have them for you guys. So that might be an option, to combat some of this stuff here.
So what do? Do we put the brakes on? If they haven't paid this permit? So what do they pay?
Yeah, I
If they're
think
not paying
the
it?
3rd of April was the deadline, right?
I think you should have Joe send a letter to
It's jokes over.
Joe, send a letter.
Well, yeah, it's the 7th.
You have to watch the meeting.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
they probably just,
Well, I have a pretty good feeling that, they're gonna pay it, but,
Maybe they're expecting an
need to
invoice or something like that, I don't know, I just.
Yeah,
reach
Should I
out to
send him
them.
an invoice?
No, I'm just saying, maybe they're expecting that, I just wondered,
it
like,
wouldn't
maybe
hurt to
they're,
send them an invoice, maybe.
maybe they're maybe a little rough on the details or something, so, yeah.
Why don't we start with that, and if we don't hear back from them within a week or so,
I'm
that
sure
invoice
you
going
will.
out. that would be-
I'm thinking,
I would say it's.
I would think it should have
they'll
been started on the
probably
material the first of May.
right away.
Well, that gives us
They don't have a
a
permit.
few days to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, they filled out the application, they wrote the amount in the 3%, they know what they're getting into, I think this probably is.
It's probably a scenario of a lot of people involved in that process.
Somebody missed that
Yeah,
little-
somebody didn't know, right?
Yeah,
It could have happened kind of late.
I would say it's an oversight.
I'll send
Yeah.
him an invoice.
Yeah.
I'll email it to that Troy
Pretty
then.
sure.
I'm sure they.
Either an email or some, I'm just, that they're the kind of place that's probably expecting someone to reach out to them, and
Yeah.
tell them what to do, and they'll do it.
Absolutely. They're not gonna,
And I know there's a lot more material coming in than what I was aware of. The 16 or 1,700 loads plus the cement and plus the structure.
I would be, yeah, Russ, I would be very interested in the cost of that cement stabilization when you get that stuff. I mean, if you get it before the next meeting, send it out to us
Okay,
and we can take a look at that, I mean.
But you're talking about doing that on 84th, right?
right from Highway 83 out to the potato turnoff there.
Would you widen that piece that they say is narrow too, though, then?
Yeah, that stuff would all be done, we'd end up basically what his recommendation was, we'd end up with a 25-foot road all the way out is what. He said, because I recommended 24, and he said by the time his thing is done, you gain a foot, so. In 25, we can work with that as well, that was.
Okay.
I just
So-
think it might be worth doing doing that road up well, because it's gonna take a lot of stress off the rest of the roads, I mean, it's just.
Well, and that road needed work, Seaview or not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's been
exactly.
an issue for years.
Yeah,
I think.
it just almost makes it a must now.
For sure, but I would say there was merit to it even before this project
Yeah.
was initiated, that 84th needed some serious consideration, so.
So, if you do that, Russ, the county would build that, or?
No, we would do a little prep work to it, but basically he would come in and stabilize it, and his
Oh.
machine comes in and pretty well, it's a pretty slick deal how he described it and stuff like that,
They come in and weigh the 6-inch now.
Yep, he comes in with seven semi-loads of equipment, and they inject water, you can use dust pods or, base one. And we talked about the base one as far as dust control and stuff like that, and he said that this guy was very knowledgeable, and I'd like to actually have him bring him in and talk to you guys, but he said base one is not really a dust control, and they don't actually use it for dust control, which everyone in this area uses base one for dust control, so it was interesting talking to him. But he's got a lot of knowledge, and he actually recommended the dust pods is what they're called. And it's something in a jug that they inject down in and they till it in, basically the same as a stabilization, and it sets up. And I asked him about freezing and thawing because we go through a lot of, and he claims they've got a lot of it out there, and he said it flexes. And, cause I asked him what happens if it ever cracks and separates, it starts, then you got that. And so far, he claims they don't have any issues. So,
Are there any roads that you could take a look at?
there is down in the southern part of the county or state area, it's over on across the river, down by Bowman, that area, stuff
Okay.
like that, they did a lot in that area. There is some down in the Aberdeen area as well, but that's a little different environment down there than we have right here, so. Yeah,
Boy, Union Drive down there, that first 2 miles, that's really getting beat up.
Where's that at?
Oh,
Down by the old Union School?
on the
No,
eight,
Union Drive starts by 96, and then, when you go around that curve, it heading to
the 8
Pollock.
mile corner going into Pollock
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
8 Mile Road, yeah.
They went down and bladed it and stuff.
That helped for a bit.
It did, and, but just fighting that frost stuff here for another month or something till we can get straightened out, hopefully.
Yeah.
So would your plan of action be to let them beat the road up and then do all this, or to do it before they?
I don't think we can, it would of course be with your guys' approval, but I don't think we can get there soon enough before they start hauling.
So just try and
I
keep
could-
the damage to a minimum and then fix it up when they're done with construction, or?
Try to get a gap in there to where
Right.
everybody, cause he said you need like a 7-day cure period.
Oh, right.
And that doesn't mean you have to stay off of it, but he said like empty semis would be fine, but he doesn't want loaded semis. Right in that
For 7 days?
For 7 days, so a guy would have to pick a spot between harvest and planting and stuff and try to make it all work, but. I will definitely get you guys that information when he gets it to me, but like I said, we're waiting for the core samples to come back.
There's
And we can-
no road haul agreement with Seaview Farm, correct?
Mm,
That's because they're under weight for borderline. Why?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, traditionally with a project, especially now that, like you said, it's gonna have thousands of loads of material going across it, there's usually at least a temporary haul road agreement, just like even with NextEra.
Right.
I don't know if you have to have one continued till the end of time. I mean, the only reason I had suggested in previous meetings is because they had offered some financial assistance.
10,000.
And I feel like if you're gonna have stipulations to the use of the road, it should be in an agreement form, because
It's gotta be.
I've been a part of these, like the pavement on the outskirts of town is the cities and the counties, but it's neithers and it's both, and that one time the mayor and the chairman got along really great and they just agreed on it, nobody wrote it down, and then 20 years later, you don't know who's responsible to fix it. And so in fairness to both Seaview and Emmons County in this stake, if there's gonna be money changing hands or stipulations on who's maintaining certain parts of it, it should just get agreed, if it's agreed on in person now, get it in writing.
In writing, attached,
That's my
right?
suggestion. I think for the duration of this project, And even with the planning and zoning going forward with these type projects, the haul road agreement should be a part of the permit process. If there's a window where it's 45 days of construction, then you should have a 45-day haul road period. That way you're not.
Maybe it should just be a portion of the conditional use permit, it
Well,
should be attached along with it.
I think it's a fair assumption when you're having these conditional use permits, you're gonna have either overweight or increased traffic or something
Yeah.
that's gonna take a regular trafficked road and turn it into essentially a haul road. And even in the most basic form, even if there's just no maintenance changing, then that should be agreed on, right? Like, we're not doing nothing, Emmons County's still doing everything like it was, okay, sign here, sign there. And then if that changes, it's kinda like the burn ban, right? You don't just do the burn ban to tell people not to burn, you do it because if someone is out there breaking the rules, there's an enforcement mechanism behind it, and that's kind of where the haul road agreement comes in. If you don't have a haul road agreement, then they can go out and abuse the road, as long as they're not breaking traffic law, there's really nothing you can do.
Right.
But if you have a haul road agreement where you've agreed on weights, times, weather, anything, and then they break that, now you have an enforcement mechanism.
So
It's gotta be a-
just contact them about a haul road agreement, or should we have a letter sent? I mean, I guess,
You have to have a letter sent.
well, nobody knew that there was gonna be this much traffic and this much stuff hauled in.
Yeah, that was
I mean, that was never
We
mentioned.
discussed it.
So how do we go about?
Well, I was speaking just in generalities,
Yeah.
whether it's Seaview or anybody, just
Yeah,
going forward.
But I'm
'cause
just saying with
even-
Seaview right now, we should probably get on it before they start hauling, and then we can always, like I said, maybe the haul road agreement should just be part of,
Yeah.
attached right on with the conditional use permit. And
Right.
the company filling out the conditional use permit can also decide whether they think that this should be included, and then we can ask the question as well, like it's part of the whole application
Well, I think
process.
I think it definitely should be a part of it, because even like an example would be, there was a feedlot that was built in the county years ago. And they got a permit to do it, well, it's a feedlot, right, everybody's for that, and it's no big deal, it was a local guy, and it was local contractors. And they destroyed a piece of county road because they were out building this road using, they were getting fill material from quarter mile away. And then that's where the haul road agreement, I think, even probably originated from that, was because that was above normal use, so there needs to be some kind of an agreement, so we know the liability lands, so. Whether it's Seaview or anybody, I think just for the zoning board especially, I think going forward, it would be a good idea, but yeah, I mean, if there's changes to the permit or misunderstandings, then I think that probably needs to be revisited and negotiated in some way, shape or form, and then just.
Yeah.
Cause otherwise you have liability issues on who's destroying the road, whether or not they're allowed to or not, well, without an agreement, it's hard to say they're doing it.
So what is it, what is your recommendation as far as process, having Joe send them a letter that we need to visit about the amount of equipment coming in there with a haul road agreement, or getting a hold of Troy Hansen, or? I mean, I'm asking, cause I'm not sure, legally, we should probably have it come from the legal side.
Well, I would say, yeah, if you're gonna reach out to anybody in any way, shape or form, you should probably do it through your state's attorney's office and just have a letter, like especially if you're talking about the permit not being paid or something, I mean, you can, we're going through a process that we just created.
Yeah.
So, however we do this needs to kind of be assumed that's how you wanna do it going forward, so. Do you want it to be really official, or do you just want Marlis to send an email? I mean, those kinds of things, I don't know, what's the
think it
best
should
way
be
to go about it?
Well, it should probably be done officially, I think Joe should probably send them,
Right.
so I don't know if you were in here, there's, and it's not rumor anymore, it sounds like it's happening, they're gonna be hauling in.
16 to 1,700 loads of material for that Seaview farm project. That's I wasn't aware, these
Yeah.
guys weren't aware.
Nobody was really aware of it, and we're thinking we should probably have a haul road agreement with Cavendish as far as,
Absolutely.
what we can and can't do, so you wanna facilitate that?
Because
Yeah.
this amount that they indicated, that dollar amount per year is a pretty small item. If that piece of ground gets, or that road gets.
Well, and that can all be, yeah, and then that brings us into talks with them, and then we can figure out, like Aaron said, we probably for their protection, should have something in writing, if they're gonna, like you said, if they're gonna give us money
Yeah.
to do this, and 20 years down the road, nobody knows why it's being done and it's being manipulated.
The reason I make that argument is there isn't a haul road agreement with Vandervoorst Farms for him to haul grain in and out, right? Cause it's a county road built for purposes of use like that.
Right,
His tax dollars go to maintain it, it's just kind of a succinct, just agreement.
Yep.
anything above and beyond that, where you're expecting another party other than the county to either contribute funds or services, I think needs to be in writing just for the liability aspect of it, and so that 5 years from now, we don't sit around, well, look at the federal aid road discussion with Sid, right? Well, oh, I didn't know that right away was that, but well, yeah, well, things just get lost in
Lost in
the
time.
woods, and people, you know, road superintendents leaving state's attorneys and chairmans and commissioners, and then nobody remembers why something was done that way and whether it still needs to get done or not.
Right.
That's why those agreements need to be in place and probably need to be updated periodically, so you don't either do or not do the things you shouldn't be doing or should be doing, so that's why
Yeah.
That
the
happened.
whole road agreement is probably just very important even going forward for the planning and zoning committee, was my
Yeah.
point on that.
Absolutely.
And this opens up this way, going
Yeah,
to them with the haul road agreement opens that up as far as an agreement for the.
well, and I think it creates a fairness aspect for both sides.
Yep.
So otherwise the county's like, you're paying for this, you go, well, no, that's not fair neither, and then you can come to an agreement and get
Yeah.
it in writing and stuff.
Yeah. Get it in writing.
Well, I would say
Because
for
we had
now, it's
that,
just,
you guys had, you weren't part of it, but when they first started that spud place out west, wasn't Jerry Singer running a blade for them? And supposedly was the agreement a gentleman's handshake that they would maintain that federal aid road coming in from 1804 to the Strasburg, that blacktop coming off the Westfield Road. That worked until Jerry passed, and that ended. But that was just a verbal gentleman's agreement.
well, even that place has changed hands once or
Yeah,
twice too,
twice,
so
yeah.
none of that moves forward.
Forward, it was attached and made part of the agreement.
But
So
to
if we're having,
clarify it,
if we're having Joe send a letter, send some information to them, should we just as well have him put in there that the permit fee has not been paid?
Yeah.
And then that takes it
Yeah.
off Marlis's?
Yeah, absolutely. Would you be okay with that, Joe? Okay.
Yeah, I just figured do it that way, then you don't have to send an invoice, probably, it's a little more legal and it's a little better.
Yeah, I think so.
Attention getter.
Yeah. Okay.
just don't be so mean, right? Trying to get along with everybody, no.
I think Clint had something
Go
to
ahead, Clint,
say
you wanna
about the
talk?
haul road agreement when we started talking about it.
Yeah, just when you guys were talking about the road use agreement, I did bring, some of our construction management crew, just wanted to publicly introduce them. I know some of you guys met them last week during the open house. But, Alan Sargent here is our construction manager, as well as, Isaac Esparza, and they'll be here on site daily, so. Alan would be one of the main points of contact for anything. He was on the card that I distributed. I'll also probably bring, a page to put downstairs or something if you guys want with project timeline and, contact info, things like that as well. But I wanna bring them and just make sure, you know, you guys saw the face, introduce them publicly and you guys know who they are. So, but there was no other comment on the, road use agreement. We also put the dust mitigation plan in from the, EPC contractor as well, so, Russ has that, and we've been talking about that for weeks, so.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having that open house Wednesday and getting the opportunity to meet all the parties involved in this process. It was nice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we need a motion on this, haul road agreement then?
Do you need a motion for it, guys? Is there a motion to accept the haul road agreement, that Joe's gonna take care of it?
I would make a motion to accept the haul road agreement.
Okay, is there a second to it? Mr. Vanderhorst?
Oh,
Go ahead.
discussion?
Mr.
Well, I
Vanderhorst?
was gonna second, so
Oh,
Jim
okay.
beat me to it, so no,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay, everything else is okay? Is there, all in favor of the haul road
Aye.
agreement?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Is this the one that you guys have?
This is for next day.
Next item is a public comment opportunity pursuant to SB 2180.
And the other one is gonna be previous.
Any public comment? If not, we'll move on to the next item. Becky Thatcher, Keller and Toby Holzer, Emmons County Food Services.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
We got,
Becky, you're Alan's wife, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to put,
we got an annual report we're handing out there. And also, the last time I was here, a suggestion was made about bringing caramel. So there's a dozen caramel rolls here. Whatever you
Way to go.
want,
Pass them around while they're still
now, this is
warm.
the bribe ring.
No,
Business bribe,
You
huh?
can put them on top of the donuts for now, I guess, yeah.
they're still warm though, so they're really good when they're warm.
Yeah, they are.
This Marlis had one.
Just
Yes.
hear Wilford
Yeah, yeah.
Brimley's voice in the background, right now, talking about diabetes.
I'm gonna see the BM, what they call it, the, content, which of these is, it's been saying good boys.
Okay, just since we started this in January of 2025, under the heading of Emmons County Senior Food Services, been a few bumps in the road or whatnot, but in general, it's been running good, okay? The community has accepted as well. They've even had some contributions for us, so it's been real well. And I'll have Becky explain the report that she has there for you, okay?
Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thanking you. One of the things we talked about in the past is that in comparison to what happened prior to us starting this with Kidder and Emmons County together, it has been a very smooth road in comparison. So thank you for that, for helping us. So this is kind of wrapping up 2025, which was our first year. There was a lot of fits and starts in the beginning, but we actually things went fairly smoothly. We had some issues with personnel in the beginning, and then now we have a really good staff on board, that they all get along, they're very trustworthy, and it makes a huge difference in their attitude toward the clients, and that's really helped a lot. We've actually gotten quite a few more clients. So just on some of the notes here, the total number of meals served in 2025, it's on the bottom there,
Yep.
is 10,388. And that includes the congregate meals, which are held at the Linton Senior Center. We reach out to, actually, we've had meals go to Braddock, to Hazelton, to Hague, to Strasburg, and to Linton. And so, and they do the congregate meals, and then the hot delivered meals, and frozen meals, and then the hot delivered meals, which are, right now, we're just taking down 3 days a week to Strasburg, the hot delivered meals. We started out with frozens, but we have found somebody that's willing to be a volunteer driver, and so they're taking those meals down. And they appreciate that tremendously, and then we're taking up frozen meals up to Hazelton at this point in time. So that kind of explains that. And when I started, the average cost from Kidder County information was that it cost approximately $2.20 per meal. And I just recently did kind of an update for that. They kept track of how much food they used on a daily basis. Went back, figured out what it was costing on the food service truck, and it comes out to an average of $4 a meal. So that's quite a bit of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we did raise the price for the suggested donation, and that is suggested. It's not required, and there are several people that don't pay it or pay a partial amount, but we raised that price to $5 a meal. There are several locations around the state that are now up to suggested donation of $6 to $6.50 per meal. So, and it's all has to do with basically, well, between the cost of the food and also the costs for salaries and that kind of thing. So as you can see on there, the donations paid by the clients for the year was $49,476, and approximately 492 meals did not get paid for by donations at all. The state reimbursement, which comes in, they give us so much per meal. The total was $137,627.03. About $11,000 a month is what we get based on our numbers.
Yeah.
Last year in June, the year for the state goes from July first to June 30th. And we were notified actually in April that the money that they had available would probably be cut toward the end of the year, cause they were running out from what they had from the state. We got a partial payment, we got the full payment in May and we got only a partial payment in June. We were informed this year that it's as bad or worse number wise. We have more clients on it, so they figure that there may not be any payment in May or June this year. So we'd have to be picking up approximately the difference, $22,000 on average. Excuse me. There is a nutritional reimbursement based on, it's a separate fund that the state has, and it's based on the number of meals that are served, but it's also limited to what they might have available that month. And that came in this year at $19,518. So this total state reimbursement was $157,145. So our total income and reimbursement was $206,621.11. That does not include the mill levy. And the reason I kept that out is because the mill levy, it has to be used to match what we put into the meals, but only a certain amount. And less than half of what you give us, actually quite about a fourth of what you give us actually goes in toward the match. And if we run out of money, then we can use it, but we cannot use it, that part of it, until it happens. And so that's probably gonna help us come May and June. But the other thing is that the mill levy can be used to pay for part of my salary, because it's administrative. And then also for like the kinds of things that we have to do for upgrades. We were required by the state to put in a stainless steel hood over the dishwasher. And that, we didn't have a choice in that. And so the money helped pay for that. And I'll talk about some other updates that we worked on as well. So does anybody have any questions on that part of it? Okay, then I'll go into the food costs.
Okay.
We changed from Cisco to US Foods as our supplier, and we're a lot happier with the quality of the food. The cost is maybe a little bit more, but it's a lot easier to deal with them, and they do have a site in Bismarck that if we have products that they can't get on the truck that week and somebody's going up to Bismarck, we can stop at their site and pick it up, or we can order it if we need it during the week and go pick it up. So it's been a lot better working with them. But the food costs and everything is going up. So the food costs this year were $83,170.67. And then all the rest of it is the overhead related to having this business. And this year we did, in order to keep our staff, they were, what were they at? 14, I think, or something like that, $14 an hour. We raised them so we could keep them and keep them happy. We do not pay any insurance. Only one of the gals that's the primary cook that works pretty much full time gets holidays off. We pay for her holidays. That's all we pay for benefits. So we wanted to make sure and be able to keep them because it's working so well together.
When we lose somebody, as you gentlemen all know, it's not easy to find somebody in a short order.
You know,
sometimes it takes months to find somebody, so you gotta pay these folks so we keep them. So,
and we did hire during that time period when we were short-staffed. We hired 3 different people before we finally found someone that meshed with the other staff and was coming in with a good attitude. And that's huge, because you're dealing with old people, me. And it is really, they get into this habit of, you know, they want everything to go their way. And so it's when it doesn't, that's why the staff that we have right now really get along with them. They joke with them, they have fun with them, and they just get along really well. And what we've also found is the home delivered meals, the volunteers get along with the people that they're providing the meals to. And we have had several instances this past, since we started, where it was critical that someone was going over and providing that meal because they either fell. There was one person that passed away that they found, but yeah, falls and being sick and that kind of thing, so they're checking on them on a regular
It's a
basis.
good deal. I gotta say that, cause I've experienced that with some, that's a plus.
Yes,
This
it
is a
is
daily check.
huge. And it makes a big difference because many times that is the only contact
Yeah.
that they have with somebody. And so, yeah, it is absolutely critical. So the total costs, our overhead costs this past year were $193,838. So there was a little bit of a cushion in there, but considering that we're kind of trying to keep enough to pay for May and June this year, that's critical too. So, that some of the things that we did do, and these weren't all just the mill levy money either, but because we did get some donations for some of these projects, but they installed the dishwasher hood. There's new electrical outlets in the kitchen, which made it a lot more convenient because they were running cords from outlets, so that was not a good thing. They got some new kitchen equipment and utensils, cause a lot of the stuff was totally old and falling apart basically. And the biggest thing was that we were able to purchase a blast freezer for making frozen meals. Now, I wanna talk about that a little bit, because what we found is that having the availability of those frozen meals has been critical in making sure that some of the hot delivered meal people and even the congregate meal people have something for the weekend. And otherwise, and Kidder County would bring them down, they were freezing them too, but it wasn't nearly as convenient. And this way, we can either deliver them when we deliver the hot meals, or we actually go like to Hazelton, we deliver frozen meals up there and stuff. And, or they stop in and we go through we have one actual freezer that's dedicated just to having all those meals in there. They empty it out probably once a week.
So is that like a vacuum pack, blast freezer?
Just
freezes similar to that.
Yeah, and the blast freezer freezes it, so it's, yeah, so it's really, I mean, it stays really nutritious, and we have the sealers and that kind of thing, and they can just pop it in the microwave oven or in their conventional oven.
Okay.
But it's amazing, we've got new clients just because of that, so that has helped a lot. And at this point in time, we actually have 5 staff members. So there's 3 part-time and then the primary cook and myself. So.
You still get a lot of people coming off the street that comes in and pays this $5 meal?
Not,
Without registering or no?
no, not as many. We do,
Okay.
maybe once a week, but it's most of the time, it's like somebody's relative that's in town
Okay.
or something like that. But this last, I've noticed since probably, I would say November, we have gotten more clients based on the fact that somebody, a relative or a friend or whatever, has been coming to the congregate meals or getting a hot delivered meal. And then they kind of say, yeah, this is a great idea, so join. So we have gotten quite a few clients,
Okay.
so.
The delivery drivers, they use their own vehicles, correct?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And we did have volunteer appreciation night for them in was it December? November.
In November.
Yeah. And
That's all donated, correct?
yeah,
Yes.
they're using their own gas, they're using their own time and everything. But we provided them with a meal and recognition with a certificate and things like that, and talked about their experiences. And all of them said that they're really glad that they're doing it. It's very fulfilling for them,
Yeah.
so.
And the appreciation night, they were so appreciative that we did something like that for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, somebody talks about reimbursement for them, they don't want nothing. Most times they just,
We would like to figure out a way over time as we get more organized with all of this. If we could like provide them with a gas card occasionally or something like that, just to help out.
Yeah.
But they switch off. We have enough drivers, so they're not driving every day. So like the home delivered meals, they're actually seeing more than one person during the week.
How many volunteers do you have doing that?
What have we got?
it's, we try and get one volunteer per day throughout the week.
Okay.
Strasburg, we deliver hot meals there 3 days a week, so we have a volunteer for each day.
It's about 10, I think, that we end up having, and some of them rotate. And there are some people that are here starting in the spring, cause it goes up for the winter, and then they'll come back and volunteer after that, so, yeah.
So you got enough people that fill these spots if somebody goes south?
Well, sometimes.
There's some people that'll come in as a sub or whatnot, but it's gotta be a day when they're around also, you know.
Yeah, for sure, so.
Well, that's
So,
good to hear.
does anybody have any questions?
One thing I have to say, one of the best things we did was hire Becky. She's a great administrator, isn't she?
Sometimes.
Good.
Looks like you got it together.
Well, I try, but there's always something, just as an aside, the state was taking care of doing all that. I'd have to fill out paperwork for the end of the month with all the meals that we had all over the place. And then I'd send it in to them and they do this program called Well Sky, which I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, Marlis, but it's a state program that takes care of a bunch of different organizations throughout the state. And the meals just happens to be one of them. But anyway, so then they decided that in January that they didn't want to do the data collection anymore because they're getting busier, so the people that were doing it didn't have time. So I had 3 hours of training on a database that is probably bigger than, I don't know, just a huge database with all the stuff. So I've got a lot of questions and a lot of time spent this last 2 months trying to figure it out. But once we get that, we'll have a lot more maybe accurate information for our reports. So hopefully next year I'll have my act together and we can have more information.
Sounds good to me.
So,
Well, I just wanna say as somebody that's been on this board for a while and was a part of the Kidder Emmons transition with you guys,
issue.
this is very transparent. And it seems like you guys are really working hard. You're doing what we had all hoped everybody would do with it, was create something of our own and make it better. And I would just like to commend you guys for doing a very good job, so.
Thank you.
I think it's huge improvement over what we had.
Well,
Aaron attended that meeting over there that time and I come in.
Yeah, well, when I went over to Steel that time, it wasn't a very good meeting. It wasn't a very good meeting.
That was terrible.
They remember me, put it that way. But, I think if the county's gonna put forth funds for things, it needs to be valuable, and you guys have proven that this is valuable, so.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And just as an aside, Kidder County is still having issues.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, cause they didn't fix anything, we just left.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I think that's still under investigation, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so
Yeah.
I commend you guys
Still pending.
for doing what you've done. This
Good job.
makes way more sense and it seems to be a way
Enjoy
more
the
efficient.
Commonwealth, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you both. Thanks for coming in, you guys.
thank you.
Next item is Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Gardner, planning and zoning update.
We had our last meeting on March 31st, 3:00 in the afternoon. And we had 7 present out of 9 members. We went over the McIntosh County zone book, we had a discussion on that, they updated their zoning book and got theirs from Divide County. And it applied to McIntosh County. So we each got a copy, which is 100 some pages front and back to read before the next meeting.
Is that amended to their,
Well, it's been to Macintosh.
To Macintosh,
White
okay.
Out.
Devise was updated by their state's attorney,
Right.
and they just basically adopted it. They got a hold of him, talked to him, he gave them permission to adopt it, they adopted.
Right,
just change the names, use their verbiage?
yeah.
Okay.
So we are reviewing that, each member should review that before our next meeting. And then we will have another discussion on that. And moratoriums were brought up, about a 2-year moratorium for data centers, AI and Bitcoin. And there was not really a vote on it, but I would say the common consent was 5 against it, 2 for it, 2 for the moratorium, so. I guess,
I think the reason some of us felt against the moratorium is because we have a good process in place right now. We had some questions for Joe, and we'll bring them up at the next zoning, meeting, as far as, some protections and some abilities to extend our 60-day, research period if need be, but, I think the general consensus was a moratorium kind of brings a company to the door, and then they go, well, we're just gonna go someplace else. Most of us felt like we didn't wanna do that, since we had a process we had just fixed our process and made it substantially better. The feeling was, let the process work the way that we set it up and see how it goes. So it wasn't that, everybody was against that, everybody just felt like we had a good process that we had just adopted, and they wanted to see the process work. You know, we always have that ability, if an AI center or data mining, or a Bitcoin mining company comes in and we don't like them, to deny the process, to deny the permit, and they'll have to go someplace else.
This moratorium, I could say, anything, just more or less puts a pause. It doesn't stop or say, we don't want you here.
Yeah, but
We just wanna screen this and make sure.
yeah, but our process actually allows us the time to screen it, that's why we adopted it with a 60-day, and that was the consensus, a majority of the consensus. That's all it was.
I guess my own thought on this is when I took this job, I swore an oath to protect the citizens of this county. And I would like myself just to see what happens in Ellendale and water issues. There's just so much we don't know about this yet. Whether it be water, electricity, anything, then there's no federal regulations on any of this either. It's just a kind of a Wild West deal. They can put in, there's no regulations.
Well, I could say it and I will say it, but whatever else you guys have to say. I just see it with CU Farm. We didn't know, and you didn't know, and nobody knew, the road superintendent didn't know, when they did represent that they'd be hauling in 17 loads of material.
Yeah.
1,700 loads of
A
material.
moratorium wouldn't have fixed that.
No, but it would just kinda,
We have a process.
You gotta go-
I took the same oath, Craig, and I am not going to allow something that's gonna come in here and destroy our county. And like I said, we have a process. The consensus of the planning and zoning board was we just adopted a new process. We still have the ability to deny every conditional use permit. We still are the law of the land when it comes to Emmons County.
Yep.
So we don't need to put a moratorium in when we have 60 days of research, and if we are not comfortable with them, we just tell them we're not comfortable with you. You need to reapply, you need to give us more information, we have those abilities in place, and that was the consensus, and it wasn't about, bucking the system, or not doing what's best for the county, or going against a couple other zoning guys, like I told Craig in the meeting, if you guys wanted to make a motion, let's put it to a vote. I'm just one guy's opinion, and it's not the right opinion necessarily, that was just my opinion,
No, and I'm not trying to go against what the zoning board said, I'm just stating my.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm just
speaking mine.
yeah, and that's,
Any other
we have a new
discussions?
process out there, and we have the ability to tell these guys, no, we don't want you,
Yeah.
through that process.
Well, quite often the moratorium is to allow you time to get the process
Yeah,
aligned, and we have been there,
yeah,
and you guys are working on it.
yeah, we continue to refine it, we
Yeah.
continue to add some information, and that's where we're at now, looking at the zoning planning book, updating that, and then putting some of our stuff, particularly new resolutions that we have in that book. Joe was busy, so he wasn't able to attend that meeting, so we didn't wanna make any quick decisions without having our state's attorney there and helping us through the process and making sure we're doing it correctly.
Well, I think Joe loves doing that, don't you? Just like get some scratch notes afterwards, put it all together and then.
Well, he probably did give some scratch notes.
Not like that never happens around here.
But I think we didn't wanna make any decisions without him present.
I think the one thing to remember, especially as a planning and zoning board, and even as a county commission, is that, you know, we're all part of a governmental system. And it's all supposed to kind of be a checks and balance. It's a combination of harmony and dissent. There are counties that are passing moratoriums on these data centers. And I think it's because, in a lot of ways, they want guidance from the legislature as well. So when you take action like that, it's not so much that even you're just against data centers or you're against pipelines or anything. It's generally leads from a discussion of, we don't really know what to do and neither does the state. So maybe we should just take a pause until they make a decision. Now, typically, state legislature is supposed to look at their local constituents and go, oh, well, that's something we need to bring up and address. Now, depending on which legislator it is and how much they've been paid, those are the kinds of bills you'll get, and that's why sometimes as a county, you have to buck the trend of the state, and so it's no different than citizens with us or anything. There's accountability, you have to hold people accountable to certain things. If the state is not going to be taking action to try and offer guidance on some of this, then the counties have to interact with it. So, I mean, a moratorium probably just sounds like a scary word and always sounds like it's the death of something, but a lot of times, like what Jim said too, it's to establish a process, if not for yourself, but to at least send a signal to another level of government, like, hey, there's several of us, there's 10 of us now, we're doing, like, we need help, like, you're supposed to come and help us, you're supposed to offer guidance with your resources and your knowledge, and so it's not always a bad thing to do a moratorium in that sense too, though, you know, not saying this merits it, or that, you know, sometimes pass a project that doesn't have a lot of guidance like this battery project. I feel like we vetted it a fair amount. Hopefully there's other stuff coming down. They'll learn maybe from our mistakes, kind of like the same with Ellendale down there. There's things that are probably really good about the project. There's things that they're going, wow, knowing what I know now, I would do it different. And as a county and as a state, townships, everybody's supposed to be kind of learning from that. So I think just even having another planning board that's having that discussion is valuable for Emmons County, and I think discussing those topics, especially when you don't have guidance, is great, whether you move forward with it or not. So I think it was a great discussion that you guys even had it, because
I think
those things need to
McIntosh
be
County
talked about.
did have a zoning and planning board because they have an AI center that's looking at McIntosh County, and they did get a ton of people, I believe, from the Ellendale area.
That were there.
Yeah, that gave input. So I mean, these counties that are having the growing pains and seeing the repercussions of approving something like that are coming to the aid of the rest of the counties, with these hearings and these public input meetings. They're getting public input from, my understanding was they got a lot of public input from the Allendale area.
Well, wasn't there more discussion at your meeting on back sets, on wind turbines also?
Well, that was in the, that's in that book, that's in that zoning book.
Okay. Does they have it all documented in your?
Well, we had Francis Crum, he come in,
Oh, okay.
and he said that was a 3-mile setback from wind towers.
Each turbine set from an occupied residence, correct?
Yes, in McIntosh County,
Okay.
that's what he,
And they got that put in place and approved.
Well, as the landowner, you can also sign off on having it closer.
like the pipeline, if you wanted it
Yeah.
up next to your house. you could
Probably a
go for it.
variance process of
Yeah,
some
right.
kind.
But if you got two adjacent homes that are only a half-mile apart, and you sign it and I don't, it's gonna be 500 feet from your dwelling,
No, if you didn't sign it, it had to be 3 miles then,
from my place,
from your place.
even though you signed the contract,
Well, the state setback, I believe, is
1,500.
1,500 feet,
So
so
whether-
at a minimum, even if you don't have zoning, you have to honor the
Yeah, and I
minimum.
think Emmons
setback.
County 1,800 feet, right,
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, something like that.
So whether that holds up in court, I don't know, the 3-mile deal. They might have to fight us.
And that's some of the stuff we wanted to talk about before we went too crazy with Joe. But that was, Francis's whole deal was, you know, that McIntosh had adopted this and he was just, his suggestion was Emmons County should look into it and probably adopt it and update some of those things as well.
And he said he wasn't for it or against it,
Yeah,
he was just presenting
It was a good
information to us.
He brought a good presentation,
He
and he
did.
brought good information to us, for sure. Stuff that definitely should be
3
considered.
Mile will pretty much hinder a project. More
That's
than-
up pretty well.
That's-
If everybody was 3 miles, yeah, there wouldn't be too many times.
Well, there's rumors of another one going in McIntosh, another one coming to Emmons County, there's all kinds of rumors, and an AI center coming to Emmons County, one in McIntosh, and, I mean, they are coming, it's just a matter of when and where, and
Yep. So what are you guys feeling on the planning and zoning committee?
we have a good group of guys, and I think we're well balanced with good information, and
Well, good.
I think,
That's why I wanted to comment on this today, just for the transparency of what's going on.
Good.
Bring everybody up to date.
And save it.
yeah, we have a good group, I think we have a very good group, good input all the way around.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal. Takes a lot of time and work off the commission.
It's a plus having an extra guys on board or women on board.
Yeah,
We were on there with 2.5 hours, I think, probably 2 hours at the most.
You attended too, man, you do all the notes. right?
So that was 2 hours less for this
and
meeting.
Josh attends,
Yeah, that's what I
everyone,
mean, yeah,
Joe, when he's available, attends,
sure,
yeah, no, we have a good group.
Okay,
good.
anything else, Greg? That's it? Okay, appreciate it. Anything more input, guys? Nothing? Okay, next item is Sam Wrench for maintenance on to Langler's Bay and Rice Lake. Sam's not in here. Next item,
Marcy, did you know
You need a motion?
why Sam is on here, or did you?
He just wanted to make sure he got the contract again for this year, he must have forgotten, huh? Is that here?
he had to forget. He's been in there, he's always here. He's always here. What do you do?
I don't know,
I don't know what he wants or what he's looking for, so.
he just wants to make sure he's got the contract again, I suppose, for Langers and.
Well, when does his contract end and when does it start?
Well, he just usually comes in every April meeting and talks to you guys about what his rate's gonna be and this and that.
Negotiates, so.
Yeah,
Well, I would say maybe just table it for next meeting then or something, because I guess.
Table, send him, tell him, send him a certified letter.
Well, I think the idea too is that Sam generally doesn't do much in the winter. It's pretty slow, and now that it's getting into April here and May, then that's where, you know, his work will start again, so whether or not there's any changes or, you know, if he wants more money or something like that too, I guess, that'd just be up for discussion, I guess. I would say as of now, don't change anything.
That's it for now, no, we.
Right, just have him come in unless he's got a request to change something, then we can discuss it, but I'd say. I have
Leave it the
no-
way it was.
I have no reason to
Let's go
change it, I
next month.
guess, at this point.
Right,
he may
on.
have to ask to be on the agenda, I hope. he
Yeah,
does.
have him get on the agenda next month. Okay, item H, Commissioner Magrum employee handbook discussion.
Well, I guess the reason for bringing this up is just, you know, the topic had came up on whether or not, you know, who has the authority to hire and fire basically in the county, you know, cause, reading the handbook, it basically states that the employees are entering into an agreement with Emmons County. So I guess the true question more than anything would be, what is the definition of Emmons County? Cause I didn't find it, I guess, so that's where I was just more than clarification on anything, because if I'm gonna read Emmons County and make an assumption on what Emmons County is, I would assume it's the Board of County Commissioners. And that's where, when the topic of hiring or firing people comes up, the general assumption amongst the citizens as well is that we make those decisions, so. If it's not that way, then it probably needs to be clarified better in the handbook, I guess, and then, you know. Because if you have someone outside of the commissioners, you know, hiring or firing people, then we need to have a defined process on who has that authority, who doesn't. I know myself as a commissioner, I don't have the authority to go out and just terminate somebody in an office. You know, even though it says Emmons County has the ability to terminate someone without cause, right, you know, so. You know, does there need to be more clarification on it or not, I guess, because
So
that's,
department heads wouldn't have the authority probably.
do they or don't, that's the question. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's what I,
That's a
cause
good
when it says Emmons County, what does
it
that mean?
Yeah.
And even as a department head, where does your authority end then? Is it only in your department? I know that's an assumption, but it really like,
Not documented.
it doesn't outline it to the point where it's like, just
Says it right there.
set in stone. What's that?
Well, the way it states it, Emmons County and its employees have an at-will employment relationship. It refers to Emmons County, like we're just talking in Aaron's talk. He wants better clarification.
No,
as to-
yeah.
Well, and I think Emmons County's had a history, at least recently, of, you know, giving latitude to the department heads to try and run their departments. When they say they wanna hire someone, you're like, okay, conduct some interviews, and if you find a candidate you think is worthy, you know, we're kinda okay with that. I can say in the 7.5 years I've been here, I haven't been a part of an official termination. The only terminations I even know of were, I believe there might have been one in the sheriff's department, which Gary, that's where the definition even gets cloudy again. Is Emmons County only the commissioners? Is it the county commissioners and the elected officials? Because to my knowledge, Gary has a little latitude even with the case precedent with the sheriff being able to kind of manage their own department. He's got rules and laws that he abides by that even supersede the county commissioners in some shapes, and because he's an elected official. Same probably goes for Joe, probably the same for Marlis, and I would say the clerk of courts and county recorder are probably. Is that considered Emmons County? Do they have the authority to terminate? I mean, these are parts of the discussion. I don't know if a decision necessarily has to happen today, but to my knowledge, which another issue that I have is that I really haven't gotten any official notice that someone's been terminated, but I've been told someone's been terminated. Does that person actually terminated if it's not done by the county commissioners? That's my question. I'm not saying yes or no, or maybe.
Well, would a person be hired if they were not hired?
That's another question. I mean, I think you could go back to the point where we've given permission for people to hire in their departments. And when they said they hired them and maybe brought them into the courtroom and you're like, oh, okay, like we didn't really oppose it. I don't think that's even proper. I really think we should probably appoint them just like you appoint any other person not elected. You make a motion, I mean, yes, we're gonna appoint this person to the, you know, extension office, whatever. You know, but that's where, when you're getting into things, and for the sake of this discussion, I haven't looked into the termination policy very well because I've never really been a part of it. And so now that it happened, I looked into the handbook and I have questions. I mean, that's the main concern of what I brought up and where it needs to go. And, cause again, if we come as a group and say that, yeah, it needs to be the county commissioners and probably the elected officials, then any other department head that's not elected really doesn't have the authority to terminate. So then we probably need to update our termination policy in a sense too then. So are we not allowing that? If somebody that's not elected has to terminate somebody or feels like they should, do they put them on leave until it's reviewed by the county commissioners? Like, if you're gonna have things like this happen, then that's something that needs to iron out. And it's not meant to be a fight. It's a weak spot that's now been exposed because we're going through it. Just like planning and zoning, if you've never had a certain project, now all of a sudden you have one, and guess what? You need to update your handbook. Well, this is something that needs to be handled. And we as commissioners have the authority to alter the handbook to make that way, but that decision has to happen. Cause even us delegating, like, oh, you can do that, like, we technically haven't given that authority, like, without a vote to say you can hire someone, you can fire someone, like, I don't think we're breaking the law or nothing, I just think we've probably been a little bit too lax on allowing that latitude with the department heads to where we're not voting on these things and coming to an actual official agreement according to the handbook. That's my concern.
So I would guess, we should talk to Tanya and tell her kind of where we wanna go, or what we want to do, and then have her look at it and put it together the way it should be. Cause there's things you can and can't do probably.
Do we know where we wanna go though?
Well, that's, I guess you gotta kinda have a direction for it, yeah.
Well, I can
I
say,
talked-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I've talked to probably, I'm not gonna exaggerate and say everybody I talked to, but I probably talked to between 5 and 10 people randomly about this termination. And every one of them though did say, well, isn't that your job to make that decision? The people I've talked to out in the community that have actually decided to broach the subject with me, all basically stated that their assumption is that we make those decisions. So my point on it is that, in my opinion, I think this is right, and I think this needs to be honored more closely, that the commissioners need to make those decisions. And if there's law that says otherwise, like, let's say for Gary's office, for example, because I know talking to him about it, he does have precedent, he can establish that he has authority to do those things, then I think that's probably okay, and maybe that needs to be altered in the handbook or at least understood, but I think especially for the appointed department heads, this handbook does not give them authority, at least not clearly, to hire or fire anybody, and so that's where.
Well, there should be probably some processes, I mean, I have still not been told that there was a termination, other than what I've heard from other people, and it's not nice to be blindsided by people out in the public.
Right.
Being told that somebody was terminated from Emmons County, and you as a commissioner had no clue that anything was done. I mean, I have still not received any
Well,
notification.
and then
that
even
it
to
was done.
pivot off that point, we're also advertising for an employee. When we talked as a board, we were gonna table it last month. And now between the meetings, someone was terminated, which we don't know if they're supposed to be. And then now that position has been listed without us. Like, if this happens occasionally or randomly, or we're all kind of in a general flow that we were probably gonna do this anyway, it's probably not a big deal. But when you have instances where you're still up for discussion or clarity on who's actually got that authority, when these things are happening outside of the meetings and outside the discussion, it needs to be addressed. That's all I'm saying, cause we don't even know if that termination should have happened, so then to hire its replacement is even probably more out of line in that situation. And that's where that discussion needs to be happening. Is that okay? Is it not? And if it is okay and it's not clarified in the handbook, like, the commissioners can change this handbook, we can alter it, it says in there, we can basically disregard it, but you can't disregard it to the point where you still keep the policy in place, you have to edit the policy then, like if we're gonna allow department heads to do it, that needs to be clarified, and some of the other wording needs to be taken out about, you know what I'm saying, like, those have to be altered, otherwise, we're basically in violation of our own handbook, so we're not even honoring the agreements we tell the employees we're gonna agree with, cause we're just basically changing the rules as we go. But then we ask them to sign this handbook and follow everything in here.
Yeah.
And then we're just disregarding it, not even following it and breaking the rules that they're actually signing off on. That's where this whole discussion has gone. So.
So the department heads are to do an evaluation every year on employees, or 6 months, every 6 months. Would they have to be okayed by us also, the evaluation, or check over?
They should be.
Well, I would say as a whole, we've probably been very lax on our due diligence of the departments. I'm not necessarily saying that's some horrible thing and we're not doing our jobs. I think there's just a level of trust you have within your departments, and that's fine, but you do have, when instances like this happen, it does reflect on us and what we're supposed to be doing as oversight. So there probably does need to be, at minimum, a subcommittee of a couple commissioners, either a part of that, or them final reviews need to be available to the commissioners in some way, shape, or form, because according to the termination policy, from what I read, and I'm not an expert and I might misspeak, and if I do, I apologize, but reading over it, it basically, there's two ways to terminate someone. There's infraction-based stuff, which is, a little tardiness, or there might have been some back talk one day, and you do warnings. There's an oral warning, you put written warnings in their files, try and curb the behavior. Then there's immediate termination, that's generally the kind of the point blank obvious stuff, right? Failed a drug analysis, intentional property damage, physical violence, whatever. You can probably make a short list of 5 or 6 things where you're just like, send that guy home, tell me about it later. And that's where, if you have things that act outside of that, we need to know why and address whether or not that's proper termination, and that's probably where the commissioners need to have that oversight of like the vote, like be like, okay, that was worth it, that wasn't, that, cause you can have department heads that do it improperly too, and it doesn't mean they're good or bad, it just means that that's the checks and balances of it, otherwise, if you have department heads acting outside the employee handbook, what is the repercussion for the county commissioners? Or what is our recourse if we believe that, you know, that's why I don't believe this department head should have the authority to fight. I think it should be a scenario where they maybe put someone on leave and have the commissioners review whether or not, because what if we disagree with the termination? Now we're voting against the termination, we're bringing someone back that's maybe already been paid benefits, or should they get paid benefit? Like, those are the discussions that, and termination's not that common, so I'm not saying this is some horrible broken process, but now that we're experiencing it, there's some weaknesses in the way we've been handling it. So.
I talked to Tanya, and yes, it was yesterday, because I knew this was gonna be brought up, and I talked to you then. And she said you should have anybody call me if they have any discussion in reference to the termination that took place. Cause she said it's up to the department head, she feels, from the language that's within our policy. We hire the department heads, and they conduct and manage their departments. And I look at it, if there's any issues that need to be discussed, or if we wanna change anything in here, it should be our state's attorney and the HR person, coordinating with one another. And then bring it to us as a board to decide what we should do or amend in our hand. That's only my opinion.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is, I mean, I'm not gonna claim to be a professional or anything like that, but reading through that, I don't see anywhere where it, cause I would actually argue that there's a point in here where the department heads
Page 5, hiring.
have to give notification when they hire someone, so if they have the authority to terminate them,
It's
why
at
do they have to
5,
ask
3,
for
2.
permission to hire? Like, I mean, that's the contradiction that I see, you know.
Page 5 there. It's a page 5, 3, 2 hiring.
Oh, you're
Of
talking about
personnel.
the 532 is the, yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, like I said, unless the wording is, I don't see anywhere where there is a specific, I mean, I'm asking for that. If someone has that, feel free to let me know. Like, if it's just, well, I feel or I interpret, that's not the way to conduct this. Because everybody can interpret or feel it differently. We've already just proven that now. Like, I don't agree with Tanya's interpretation of that, because the way I read it, it says Emmons County. It doesn't say Emmons County or department heads and department heads. It really doesn't say that. In my opinion, the way I read it, the department heads manage the department. Any issues come to the county commissioners. That's the way I view it, and that's the way I feel it should be accountable to the citizens. I mean, that's just, but again, that's my opinion and my interpretation of it. That doesn't mean I'm right. And that's why I wanted to bring it for discussion, because
Yep.
one person running around saying it's right or wrong isn't right either. I just know in my feeling of it is I've never felt like I've ever had the authority as an individual on this board to terminate an employee. So I find it very hard to believe that a department head has that kind of authority. Unless it's been specifically granted in a handbook or in some kind of document. Otherwise, the assumption doesn't really make sense, because I'm elected. The authority is in my office, but that authority is only granted to me, not only through the constitutions, but through the decision of the board. We're individuals as a part of a whole, and that's where I don't see how you can have an individual acting in a different capacity like that. Unless you have, like I said, I use Gary as an example because he is the law enforcement officer of the county. He even abides by different century codes that we don't even abide by, and I would imagine Joe's office is probably much the same, so. It's just an opinion, and it was something that just gets brought forward because I had questions. And I think no matter what, you know, this termination, in my opinion, isn't valid until it gets voted on by the county commissioners. And I also think that the process of how it was conducted should be scrutinized a little bit, because I feel like I should have been probably notified, either as a part of a group, like, I don't have to get an individual phone call necessarily, but there should have been some kind of an email, whether coming from Joe or Marlis or the department head, stating that, or the chairman, something of like an official notice to say, this person has been terminated effective this date, this is the reasoning, you know, or whatever. And same should go if that is coming from a department head, hey, I've placed this person on whatever leave we agree on, whether it's paid leave until the next commissioner meeting. This is my reasons and my recommendation is termination. And then us as a board needs to go, and maybe it needs to go in executive session, maybe it doesn't. And then that decision comes from us and then it's final. Where if you have a department head acting outside the decisions of the board and we're like, we don't agree with that, and we overrule it, now you have this situation that I just don't, unless we're all agreeing that we're gonna allow that as a department head, then it's like, well, you know, we told them they can run that department, it's in the handbook, we're granting it. It's gonna take a, you know, a total group effort by us as a board to change that, then that's different, but I don't see that in the handbook at all.
So the basic question, if I could say, is who's Emmons County, based on the handbook on page 1,
Right.
right?
And then that definition dictates a lot of questions inside this
I know,
handbook.
a lot, when
You
you
know,
read
it's a
through it.
very simple question, but it has massive consequences in several parts of this handbook.
I think it should be, Joe, would you wanna handle this with Tanya?
Well, you guys have to create your policies.
Yeah.
I'd probably have a different stance. I mean, to me, I don't necessarily think that anything was violated. I tried to read through it. It is vague though, so I understand why it's, the policy hasn't been, it's not very specific as far as how it's done, right? But also at the same time, if I was on the county commission and I wanted to retain the authority to terminate employees, I would have made it very specific. Termination's gonna come to the board, it's gotta be a majority decision. I think that would be kind of unusual to handle it like that. And then, you know, obviously you guys have control over the department heads in other ways too, so I mean, you do have sort of a different set of controls, but. I can work with Tanya, I think she needs to be involved in this for sure, but I don't necessarily wanna dictate policy for you guys. You know, I might have a different idea of how I think it should be run than you guys should, you've been elected to create those policies, so. Your input with Tanya would probably be more valuable than mine, but I have no problem being involved, you know.
Well, and I just wanna clarify, I'm not saying the termination was wrongful or not.
I hear you.
I mean, that, I actually, to be honest, I don't have enough information about it because I have very little information about it. Which is a part of another issue that I have with that, and that's why I'm saying this process has some issues as far as the overall just conduct of it and how it's been handled and whether or not that's the way we wanna terminate employees. And then when you go in the definitions and it says Emmons County, well then I'm like, well, that already is my first vague question. What do we view Emmons County as in this handbook?
Right, and that's kind of what you and I talked about the other day on the phone, and then I got to thinking about that. I don't know either, I mean, it's not defined. I think you could make the argument that the department head is an agent for the county, and is acting for the county in these instances. Obviously, the relationship between an employee is with the county, because the county is the employer, you know, that's the person who pays the employee, so that's why the language is like that. But then underneath it, when we get to these subsections, like specifically this one with termination, it should probably have some more clarification. Like who's gonna take action for the county? You know, and we don't have that in there, so that is missing, it should be addressed, and I think Tanya could maybe help us out, maybe they have something in Burley County that's a little more specific that we can kind of plagiarize a
More
little bit to
specific, huh?
our benefit.
To me, it'd be a little lopsided if one of our department heads doesn't have the authority to let an employee go. And then they bring him here and we say, well, I don't think you can let him, but I think you should keep him. So then I mean, it would be very odd for that department head, hard for them to go back and try to make that all work in my mind, you know. I really do feel that the department heads should have the authority to terminate.
But then there should be a process.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we need to be notified immediately, number one.
Okay.
Number two, as an employee of anywhere, I would be a concerned employee knowing that another employee just got fired. Maybe without just cause or without the ability to improve themselves or being put on some type of a plan or, I mean, I think since Russ has been here, they've all gotten one review within the last less than 6 months, it's probably been 4. And I didn't see that review, I don't know how that review was for that employee, but I don't, one way or the other, I don't have enough information either. But I would be on pins and needles as another employee knowing that, you can be terminated one day without knowing a little bit more of what's going on. And I don't know what that review was for that employee. So I'm just saying, maybe there should be some processes also put in there as far as, leading up to a termination.
I had talked to Tanya last night, I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole, but she said that there is, everything is par what happened, according to Tanya. Cause there must be some forms being filled out, and if anybody has questions, call Tanya. And she was gonna come on the screen this morning, but she had dental appointments and couldn't do it. Well, she would have been showing face here to discuss this issue openly. And she said, if you need to, I can do it next month, or if you need a special meeting, I can do it. So that's all I know.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying one way or the other that it was right or wrong. I'm just saying, a notification, I think, is a must. So that we're not blindsided out on the streets, or it's brought up at a funeral where I heard from it the first time. And I just think an employee should have the opportunity to possibly see it coming. I mean, this employee may have just bought a brand new pickup and all of a sudden they're unemployed. You know what I mean? We have to look out for the county, we have to look out for the rest of the employees, and we have to look out for that employee. I think whether we terminate them or not, that we have processes in place so that we can make sure that we're not, I mean, we're a right to work state. So you need no excuse. You look at them wrong, you can fire, I mean, you need no excuse to fire somebody. But I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about business. As an employer, that's not the right way to retain and keep good employees or even find good employees is, I think just having a process to make sure that we're giving an employee, it doesn't have to be 5 years, but a small amount of time to make improvements or improve themselves or prove to their employer that they are willing to learn other skills or do something to stay on board. That's all I'm saying. I think if we're gonna make changes to the handbook, there should be a process for the employee to improve themselves too.
The only thing though is if you have the department heads terminating employees, then what is the recourse for the employee if they feel like they've been wrongfully terminated? Like, that's where my opinion of having someone maybe being placed on leave and then having some kind of a hearing essentially for us as a board to hear, because we technically are the HR department in Emmons County as well. We contract Tanya for advice, recommendations, but she has no authority in Emmons County. And so that's where, when it comes down to it, if someone's been wrongfully terminated by their department head, what recourse are they supposed to have? They're supposed to battle back from termination? That really doesn't, I guess that doesn't align with how I think we should be treating the employees here. Now, if you have someone that's done something, you place them on leave till you can have review by either the sheriff, state's attorney, whether they're breaking the law or if it's just, employee policy. And then that should be conducted appropriately by the board, whether in executive session or in an open meeting, depending on the situation. And I think a lot of times, if you have a department head that you trust that's recommending someone for termination, 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna go with your department head. And that's the reason for the accountability of the process. The documentation of, there's been several warnings, this is the evidence that this person did do something that justified termination. That department head should have the authority to send that person home for leave for, if it's tomorrow and we're not meeting for another month, and we don't wanna meet for a special meeting, then they're on leave for a month if that's how it is. But I feel like that's the process that you can get behind that has checks and balances. Otherwise, you can just have a department head that basically starts terminating people at will with or without cause. That more than likely, that's gonna end up in here anyway if it's a problem. So why not have it begin here in the first place? And then when the Board of County Commissioners decides you're terminated, well, then that's it. And if we break the law and we get sued for it or something, then we as a board made that decision, not an appointed department head. It all comes down to accountability of the elected offices. That's my master stroke on the whole conversation. In the end, there isn't a person in this courthouse that isn't elected that has more authority than this board. There are certain instances where the other elected officials have a narrow purview of authority, but we basically are the law here underneath the Constitution and the Century Code. So to say that these things can happen outside of our decision-making is really false. There can be recommendations, there can be things we delegate to other people officially. That's why we make motions to let people work in the highway right-of-ways and grant permits to people to build things, cause that authority lands on us and we delegate one way or the other. That's why I believe this process needs to be maintained at this level. This termination or future terminations or hirings, again, I even have an issue with the fact that this termination happened and then the position was listed. We didn't discuss any of that. And that's not wrong for me to be upset about that. That's our job. We delegate it to other people. And if we're gonna delegate it officially, then it needs to be in the minutes or in a handbook or something. It can't just be succinct amongst one or two of us. We don't have that authority. Same reason we don't have the authority to demand that we fix a project or nothing. The major projects always come through this table. Because we don't have that authority to delegate hundreds of thousands of dollars, or for Magrum to go to the sheriff's office and terminate the deputy that gave him a speeding ticket. That doesn't work. That's not how it works, and it's not supposed to work that way.
So then the handbook should be more specific.
Or those decisions just come to us, cause basically it looks to me like those decisions come to us. I'm not recommending one way or the other, I'm just telling you how it is and how I'm interpreting it. And any other interpretation otherwise is very unclear. You can make assumptions and you can feel about it, but when it says by Emmons County, my recollection as an elected official is that's me and my peers that are elected. Any other assumption out of that is just that, an assumption.
If I can comment, I think that the handbook does need some clarity. I mean, I've been here 32 years and there isn't a year that goes by that another department reaches out to me or we have that discussion about what does this mean, what does that mean? Sometimes it's as clear as mud. So having a review of the entire manual for clarity purposes, not only on this, but other sections of the manual, is probably within order at some point. But in my employment with county local government, which has been my entire career, not only here, but other places, the role of the board, the county board, is budgetary for the most part, and this document up here, the county employee manual. And it's like Commissioner Magrum said, I mean, there's department heads, and then there's elected officials. And some of us are both. And there's a difference there. And the North Dakota Supreme Court has ruled specifically, and I'm gonna speak on my own behalf here as a sheriff. As an elected official in the sheriff's office, I have the authority to hire, fire, and discipline my employees. The Supreme Court has ruled that, Schwarzenberg versus McKinsey County, probably 10 years ago. They clarified that, it went to a lawsuit. But again, it's an elected official. And I would assume that that would also apply to any other department head that's elected, whether it's the state's attorney, auditor's office, or clerk's office. They didn't get into that, but the assumption can be that as an elected official, they have a little bit more authority for that purpose. But one of the things that I get asked every year by other department heads is, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? Because the clarity isn't in the manual for some of these people. And we have an HR person on contract, but that HR person is not readily available to each and every department head, right? To my knowledge, that person has never stepped foot in Emmons County. It's all done remote by phone calls, which is fine, I get that. But not having a process for any department head is, how do I handle this situation? You know, even in the private sector, companies and so forth, they don't take action unless they're running something through their legal and their HR. And they make a recommendation. Am I on solid ground here to do what I'm gonna do? And if they get the green light, they do it. But having a process, right, for any department head, what do I need to be doing? How should I best handle this? And not having an HR person that you can readily reach out to and sit down and do a face-to-face conversation with is kind of hamstrings any department. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I've terminated prior deputies, but I've always documented, I've always reached out to my state's attorney, and it's not always been Joe, we've had other state's attorneys in the past, and say, here's where I'm going. And we discuss that, and are we good to go? Yep, you're good to go. Don't get into this subject matter, don't get into that subject matter, here's what you wanna be doing. So, it's not an easy, I think it's, termination is something that is taken, I think, seriously by any department head. It's something I don't think anybody wants to do, but you wanna make sure you're doing it right. And if I'm going to do that, I wanna make sure, again, I'm CYA, right? Even though our right to work states, you still don't wanna end up in litigation, you still don't wanna end up with a big PR black eye. But a lot of times that document up there on the board doesn't give us department heads that clear process on how to do that. I mean, you guys definitely, I cannot go and hire a sixth deputy because I don't have a budget for it. You have to approve that budget. You approve the budgets for those positions. Now, whether you give the authority to a department head to maintain those 5 employees, let's say, and they come and they go. Maybe it's self-termination, they resign their position, whatever. Does that department head have the authority just to start advertising if somebody leaves on their own? Okay, they came in, give their 2-week notice, I need to start advertising. You need to have that communication, obviously, so everybody knows what's going on. But, it doesn't clarify really what the role or what the responsibilities are of a department head, so to speak. You know, in my office, the Supreme Court said what it is, okay? Other department heads, it doesn't. So having some guidelines or a process in place would, I think, benefit all department heads in that process. But not having HR available is a hamstring to all of us in this whole thing. And we've had this discussion in Emmons County for the last 3-5 years. You know, things are getting a lot more complicated. They're not like they were in the 80s and the 70s and so forth. We've got a social service zone now that includes like 50 employees involved, and not having somebody in HR that knows this stuff is really not a good thing probably going forward. So I think a review of this and maybe some tweaking, some clarification and adding some additional steps, or same thing too, you don't know what you don't know. And even department heads, like, okay, maybe all department heads, myself included, sitting down with HR, having HR come here, provide some training for the department heads, like, this is the process, this is what is expected, but before you get to that, I mean, everybody's gotta be on the same page and understand what's going on. So, I mean, the world we live in today is different than it used to be. It's not the same, unfortunately. And yes, we're a right to work state, but you don't wanna end up in litigation. You don't wanna, it can get really complicated real quick. So.
Well, I think you just don't wanna send the wrong message to the other employees that are in your staffing system, that you're not at least examining these things and making sure it's done properly, because otherwise, I mean, kind of like what Commissioner Gardner said, I mean, if you're gonna walk on pins and needles, I mean, there's a certain amount of fear that's probably valuable when you're an employee, so you don't lose your job, but secure people do the best work. That's just how it is, and so everything we do in reflection of the employee policy and manual should be done to protect Emmons County. But it also needs to be given consideration to be protecting the employees too. There needs to be a give and take in that. It's just not the authoritative manual that tells you you're a piece of slime that's lucky to have a job here. It's that you're entering into a fragile environment in some respects, but yet a solid environment in other respects. You have a job here as long as you're participating by the rules and working well with others and not breaking the law and not making us look bad. You're secure here. When you start doing those things, that's when there's gonna be levels of punishment. And that's why I'm not saying I disagree with even the termination itself. I'm not saying that. But I, for one, as a county commissioner, am not gonna be a part of a process that I don't think is proper.
That's fair.
And that's where, getting back to even our zoning, we've worked tirelessly for years. You and I especially, because we've been on together the longest now. And that fight was going on before you came on. It's probably the reason some of you got on this board, was participating in that. That policy, I believe, is as solid as it can be. It's defendable, it's reputable. I can look at it and go, it's maybe not totally perfect, but dang it, it's pretty good. And I read this policy now, because this situation came up. And I do not like the vagueness of it at all. And I don't wanna be walking the streets out there having people come to me going, is that how it's supposed to be? You know what? I don't have enough information, which makes me sound dumb.
Yep.
And then also have a policy that's kinda here and kinda there, and you can talk to the state's attorney and he disagrees and agrees, and you can talk to Tanya and she agrees and disagrees, and talk to Marcy and Josh, you just go around talking to everybody and you get 40 different opinions on what those 4 paragraphs mean. That to me says that's something that needs to get fixed.
Yeah.
And that's where it needs to be. I'm not casting blame on anyone. I'm casting blame on this table. And myself included, because I haven't been a part of the termination, so trust me, I didn't look up that part of the handbook. But now that it's happened, I see it's a problem and it needs to get, handled is maybe not the right term, because employment is like fashion, it's never done. But this is vague. And this doesn't leave our department heads in a good position. It doesn't leave our elected officials in good position, nor does it leave the employees in a good position. And that's where, whether it's help from Tanya, Joe, the other department heads, I think we can all work together and sort this out, where the commissioners, if there's a level of authority you wanna delegate, then it's just like the Hall Road discussion we had earlier. That needs to get ironed out, because once this board leaves, that agreement is gone now. Now, we don't agree or disagree, or that, it needs to be amendable, something you can grab and touch and then change if you need to as a board.
This item has to be amended, changed.
Right, and it doesn't have to change today, it's not something that has to get immediately done in a knee jerk, but it had to be discussed.
It's kinda like what Gary said, it's changed from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, it's changed, big time.
And I think a yearly review, or I think so. I think we've been a little lax on it. We've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had a lot of scenarios, so when you don't have a lot of scenarios, you don't go through the motions with things. The only reason we're reviewing zoning, they're just so far behind us, cause we're getting inundated with projects now, right? Otherwise, 10 years ago, who cared? We had the same book and it's good. This book is good, we don't have to deal with it. And then a situation arises, you're like, oh boy, that's a weak spot.
Yeah.
And so I think that needs to be the lesson of this whole process right now, is that there needs to be some review and updating, not only for the commissioners, but for the department heads, so that everybody's on the same page. I'm not blaming anybody, casting blame.
I'm not even.
In my opinion, I think that termination should be solidified by the Board of County Commissioners though. Just for the sake of, that's how I read the handbook. That's my opinion. Act on it as you wish. That's just my final thought on it, is that I don't believe it's valid without voting on it as a commission with the way our policy reads.
So what are you asking me as the chairman? Should I get a hold of Tanya to come in here to help and break and discuss this and write this with clarity, that everything is right?
Well, I don't know if we need Tanya. I mean, Tanya's a great resource, and I'm not trying to discredit that, but I mean, us as a board has the ability to, if we wanna delegate certain things, I think we can go about doing that. I mean, yeah, we have to check with the law, but that's why we have a state's attorney, and I mean, I think Tanya's a fine resource, and there's other counties we can reach out to, and then also just how we feel. Do we feel that some of this stuff needs to get changed or clarified better? And I think we can do that. I mean, that's the whole point of it, is we are the elected board. Like, this kind of stuff is our job. We can delegate it to other people, but in the end, this stuff is our job. Cause you don't get to blame someone else when it doesn't work out, cause we're delegating authority. It still ends up belonging to us, and we're still responsible for it. So when these decisions happen, you need to be able to defend it.
Well, if we have that authority, then we should have the authority on the hiring process too.
I would completely agree with that, because it does say that in the handbook explicitly, even more than the termination part, is that no department head has the authority to hire someone without approval of the board. I'm not saying we've been doing it wrong, cause we've always kind of been like, hey, we need, this guy's retiring, this lady's leaving, we need to replace someone. Yeah, go ahead, start advertising, and you let them run that process and do it. And whether that process okay is fine. I'm not saying we're doing it wrong, but I do think we have to vote on it. I think even the opening of a position, I think should be officially just voted on, like, yes, you can list that position for hire.
I think we did have what department heads last, or maybe it's 2 meetings ago, say they're going to be hiring. So before they hire that person, they can give that person the okay, but the final say would be with us when they bring that person in.
I would say so, because I'd say it's no different than at the beginning of the year when we appoint officials. Like, there's certain things, we appoint Gary to be like the coroner, 911 response. Like, those are positions for appointment. I think that's basically, I don't think you have to renew every employee every year, but my point is this is the new employee. They passed the background check. They're clear on every other office, every other situation. They scored highest during the interview process. This is the person you want to bring on. And that's where the commissioners should give the final approval, because we're the ones cutting the checks and paying the bills. And that's where the trust in the department heads comes in, where you can go and find your own replacement if you want to do that. That's it. But the final say comes here, because there might be an issue with the way they're hiring that person or not. And there needs to be a checks and balance in that process.
So should we sit in, you feel, on the interviews also, on all these different departments?
I mean, that's up to the decision of the board.
One commissioner or what?
I know the commission used to interview the candidates when I first started. And then when Francis started, then everybody was like, oh, we gotta have a meeting to interview people. So then it was Francis, and then we rotated turns on which commissioners did interviews. And then there were times where it was just interviews. Like, I know Dave Culver and I went and met at the Hazelton shop because we needed a Hazelton blade operator. It was our turn, and we interviewed and told the board, well, we interviewed 3 guys, and this is the guy we picked, and then that's how it happened too. I mean, and that's, again, kind of raises the situation, right? Like, was any of that stuff done properly or not? Like, if that's how the board viewed it, which we would discuss and be like, hey, you 2 wanna do the interview and then let us know how it goes. Well, if you trust those 2 commissioners and they brought it forward, then that's kinda how it was done. It's been done several different times each time. I've interviewed people when Francis was the road superintendent and he was a part of the interviews. I've also done it with just another commissioner. And I've also been a part of it where the department head has conducted the interviews, and I don't know if any one of those processes was better or worse. I really can't say, so. But those are the kinds of things that should be ironed out, even so we're consistent too, like
So
who's
that
doing the interviewing. Right, I mean, forming a subcommittee of the superintendent and 2 commissioners, I feel is a pretty good process, cause it gets buy-in from both sides. Cause otherwise the commissioners go and interview somebody and the superintendent's like, holy cow, look what you gave her. That's not fair either. And you can also have a department head that interviews someone and you're like, whoa, I don't know if this is, when we have the sheriff calling us, telling this guy's a little dicey, like, I feel a buy-in from both sides isn't so bad. Maybe even have a 4-person, 4 is a bad number, but cause you have a foreman and a superintendent. Maybe you have a foreman, a superintendent, 2 commissioners, or, form a subcommittee if you want, so you don't have to have a quorum and special meeting. And, I know we interviewed guys at the Strasburg shop. Cause that's when, it seemed like wherever we needed a guy was kind of where like, hey, meet us at the shop, and then that's where it happened. It just seemed like a reasonable approach to bring someone on. They got to see the shop they were probably gonna be working in, and we literally sat next to the piece of equipment they were gonna run. I don't know if that's a bad process or a good one, but it kind of reiterates what I've been talking about too, is there's been a lack of consistency in that department as far as the hiring and firing. And I think delegating it to department heads is probably okay in some respects, but in other respects, we still need to have some oversight, and that's where we need to define that in our policy.
It's gotta be defined.
Or again, you know, like Gary's suggestion, which is, you know, we fought a planning and zoning committee forever because we thought we were too small and we didn't need it. You know, an HR person is probably an inevitability. We're looking at increasing departments lately. We need more help in some of these areas. Stuff's not going away.
Well,
It's not
HR is-
gonna wait.
HR is important.
It's
Yeah,
very
well,
critical.
I
though.
mean-
That's the one that'll wind you up in court.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that's just like anything else, if you have a good HR person. I mean, so you know, the commissioners still have to hire someone good, you know, you can have a bad HR person that gets you sued, you know. But I would say a long-term consideration is we probably need to look at a more consistent HR. Not just a consultant who's only available on their time, and we've gotten away and kind of skirted that, and it's been helpful, but.
Or maybe we can share one with a couple counties.
Well, that's been brought up so many times, and the other counties we always wanna share it with are, cause they don't have HR. And they seem to be like, well, we don't need that, we don't want,
Yeah.
and then you try and team up with another county that has HR, well, then it's kinda like with Mary Sanger and emergency management, like,
You're not-
yeah, you get them, but then when they're busy, you don't get them, you know, and there's a responsibility, and I'm not criticizing Mary, I'm using this as an example, so please, Mary, don't call me. I'm just using it, like, sometimes you're trying to share someone, and it's like, it creates a level of inefficiency, cause now you're not only pulling them away from their duties, maybe they're deep into a huge employee review or wage review, and now you're pulling them away to talk about
Right.
vacation issues, you know, and
Yeah,
you're a sub-county that you're contracted with, like, I agree with you, but we've done that, and it always seems like that always hits a roadblock
Yeah.
at some point where you're like, I don't have the time to handle you guys and my job, sorry, and then you're like, crap, now we're back to square
We
one.
ran into that with Pam Binder, she was the Berlin
Yeah,
County
yeah.
teacher.
Which was
And then she
facilitated because
resigned from here, correct?
we had a good relationship with Burley County with Mary, and we piggybacked on the HR thing, and it worked for a bit, but then it just started becoming an issue, and then now you're going, crap, now we're back to square
There
one.
were issues with that Pam resigned, she told me herself.
And that's why with HR, it's difficult, cause when you contract someone and it becomes difficult, it's very easy to cut the cord. And HR is not gonna be easy, and anytime you get into something deep, it's like you kinda need an employee who's gonna be coming in here every day going, well, this is my job too, like. So that's where it is difficult, and that's where we probably are doing a disservice to all this by not having more consistent HR.
And I can say that, again, finding an HR person that deals in local government, and I go back to the Association of Counties hired an HR person that we try to utilize and had no background in local government.
Right.
It was not pretty. It was not pretty. He worked.
But they were
for
employed.
or something.
That's the HR.
But you can have the wrong person too,
The
like,
wrong
just cause you have an
person.
HR office doesn't mean all your problems are
Local
solved.
government is a different animal.
Yeah.
It is than the private sector.
You bet. Any government is a different animal. But okay, everything else, we'll move on to the next item. Sam, you missed your